got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This is him playing water polo on the Greek national water polo team.
That's incredible. That might be a first. And he's a great water polo player. That's what you see out here all the time.
It looks like you're going to see him batting down some passes a time or two. Like right there.
Whoa,
The water polo pays off.
oh, that couldn't have gone any better.
That was live.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, let's get it rolling here on a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. Boy, a lot of stuff to get into and talk about. What a fun day yesterday was. I don't know about anybody else out there in different cities, but I know I had a blast watching some football, watching the noon games, watching the afternoon games, not necessarily the Sunday night game. Doesn't matter. Who cares? I was doing Sunday sound off, so I had other things to do. But a lot of fun yesterday and a lot of questions answered. You have questions, they have answers. The Chiefs and those that may have questioned throughout the summer. Writing, talking, podcasting, tweeting, blogging, twitching and tweaking throughout the summer. In the fun little think pieces that took, 2 drives to show how senseless and short-sighted they were. Just quickly hey, they're going to be fine. Which is what most people around here were saying, but that was the Homer view of saying, gee, I don't know. I kind of feel like Patrick Mahomes is a unicorn, and I don't know that a unicorn has to have an amazing receiver if he's got other weapons around there that are pretty good. Oh, he's still got the best tight end in the league. And some pretty good receivers, too. And Andy Reid. And he's also freaking good. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be okay. And as it turns out, they were. They were just fine. They were okay. They were more than okay. They were great yesterday. It was an absolute shellacking. It was embarrassing for the Cardinals. The Chiefs embarrassed Arizona and Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray and Vance Joseph and anybody else that was associated with the Arizona Cardinals franchise had to be embarrassed yesterday. And those that doubted Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs all summer had to be embarrassed as well for what they were able to do. The defense was good. The offense was good. The coaching was good. The post-game show was good. Everything across the board was just mid-season form.
If you insist.
Mid-season form. So what we do after a Chiefs game, the day after a Chiefs game, 913-381-810, we do take your phone calls. 913-381-810 if you want to weigh in. Give your thoughts on the Chiefs' 44-21 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. They get set for that Thursday night matchup against the Chargers at Arrowhead Stadium coming up in just a few days. So we will take your phone calls the first couple of hours. The 10 o'clock hour, the 11 o'clock hour, take your phone calls, your thoughts, 913-381-810. Also, you can text in 913-912-4810. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon, our NFL insider. We talk to him weekly on Mondays at noon. We'll do that today. We'll hear from the coordinators out at Arrowhead Stadium. A different week, usually Andy Reid on a Monday, but it being a short week, we're hearing from the coordinators today, Dave Tove, Steve Spagnuolo, Eric Bieniemy. We'll see about players, things like that, but the coordinators today, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes will be tomorrow. No press conferences coming up on Wednesday, and then a game on Thursday. So coming up about 12:30 or so, we'll hear from the coordinators, and then we'll get some Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour as well from the weekend. Boy, there was a lot of things to learn. There might have been a lot of things that were funny, and I think I could have come up with about 15 different bests from the weekend. So my general thoughts as we start to take your phone calls and read texts is, other than a fumble by Juju, I'm not sure it could have gone better to script. With what you may have been hoping to see, wanting to see, trying to find out some answers to these big unknowns, I thought it was just an absolute, maybe not perfect, but for week one, compared to the rest of the NFL, a perfect game in how they played. Injuries, yes, that's a negative. That's a takeaway. The takeaway from the overall fun of yesterday, it doesn't seem like anything is overly serious, although we'll find out about Trent McDuffie's hamstring since he did leave on a cart. Harrison Butker apparently doesn't even need to step into a 50-plus yard field goal.
Leaving on a cart actually is a good sign now, I guess, because Harrison Butker did that.
Was he in the first? Was he in the front row or the back row? Because we have to differentiate between what seat he was sitting in. But Justin Reed, have no fear. And let me tell you, if there's one show that did not make fun of Justin Reed's questions about being a kicker and practice and everything, it's this show that did not outright dismiss that line of questioning and going, okay, let's move the fun little fodder aside and let's get into actual football with Justin Reed, the non-kicker, the safety. Cool, he kicked a field goal and an extra point. Move along. Cool. Let's actually talk about what's going to happen in games.
Like 10 minutes into the season, it became the biggest story in football for like a good minute or two.
It's amazing.
Could not have happened better.
It is amazing. And luckily, this show specifically is one that did not do that at all. Totally embraced the fun part of the kicking from Justin Reed.
On air, off air, certainly. We never sat here and went, how many questions are we going to have about the kicking? Is this going to matter? I want to know about the defense. How's Juan Thornhill looking? The kicking, he's not going to kick in a regular season. That was pretty good. That's pretty good for a safety. Bombing the kickoffs.
That's right.
Scored a point. How many safeties have scored 1 point? Exactly.
Yeah, text comes in. It's a good point. It says 58 seconds to halftime when Juju fumbled. 2 seconds left in the half. The kicker takes a single step and nails a 53-yarder. I think we're okay. Yeah, I think so, too. Like, when it was, he fumbled. Oh, no, an opportunity for them to get back in the game here. Oh, no, 4 and out. And then Harrison Butker, 1 step, 53-yarder, and it's all good from there. I mean, it just impressive day, a lot of fun. Me and little man watching the game and just simply high-fiving a lot. It was a blast. So that's my general takeaway. I think it's the consensus of most people. But Josh, you did 3 hours after the game yesterday.
Yeah.
It seemed like your general takeaway consensus, and then we'll get to some phone calls that are waiting on hold. 913-381-0810.
It's the best possible type of not knowing where to start. Because sometimes you don't know where to start, and you're like, it's because nothing really stood out. Or sometimes you don't really know where to start because maybe something good happened, but something so bad happened, you're like, okay, I'm picking between two. Do I start positive or negative? Here, it's not pick your poison. It's pick your dessert to have for breakfast today. Because you can take anything you want.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where I started the show last night, because I do think within the realm of a lot of the conversations we've been having here, you've even alluded to it right at the top, talking about Patrick Mahomes is a totally different ball game. There is no differentiation between what is improv and what is planned, what is street ball and what is very much by the book, what are good mechanics and what are floating left, throwing right with your tongue hanging out in somehow a third direction. There is no differentiation to make there. It's all within the perfectly planned and excellent repertoire of Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to say the names of the guys that you haven't said yet, that no one on this show has said yet today, because I'll make my point with them. I love Josh Allen. I love Justin Herbert. I love watching those guys play football. Making conversations about Patrick Mahomes actually about Josh Allen and Justin Herbert only does a disservice to you and to Patrick Mahomes. Because now you think Herbert, Allen, Mahomes, and if your response to that emotionally is negative, you've got to unplug yourself and plug yourself back in again. Because we've got some generational quarterbacks in the NFL right now, but the most fun individual player in the history of football plays quarterback for your team. There is no overshadowing that, and God, I hope there's no forgetting that anywhere within the sound of our voice today, because it is special. The second you start forgetting whoever it was that you grew up watching as a Chiefs quarterback, unless you are under the age of 10 and you can't remember anything else, you're raising some very privileged children, Jason.
Yes.
But if you have a memory of Chiefs quarterbacking ineptitude, or at least just even a shortcoming, Trent Green, Alex Smith were some great quarterbacks in their own right, but there was a shortcoming. You've got it. And he just came out in the first game without the only number one wide receiver he's truly known. He has another number one wide receiver. He just plays a different position. But the only true number one wide receiver he has ever known as a professional, gone, and you literally could have forgotten Tyreek Hill existed by halftime. Who looked good in Miami, by the way. He's still Tyreek Hill. He was incredible here.
Could have used 6 more yards for my fantasy team, but
Sure.
didn't matter. I ended up winning this week anyway because, as I said, I was a total believer in Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Always.
The day after the draft, as I said, I'm like, look, I went in there
You were thrilled.
clearly targeting Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
What was
I
the
didn't
over-under on his touchdown? 6.5?
6.5. I feel good about the only one that took the over.
Yeah,
This guy right
I
here.
changed it the last second.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
that one
right.
seems pretty good. I think you guys
That's
are
right.
probably going to win that one.
No, but I did love leaving the draft, and I'm like, somehow I took Clyde Edwards-Helaire for something. Like, that was not the plan to take.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well.
Like I said, love him, believe in him, totally. And I do wonder, as a very quick aside, because we're going to talk so much about this game over the next few days
Yeah.
before we get into the Chargers, I do wonder how much they would have stayed with him had they
Absolutely.
been leading. Or was that the plan? That it was going to be Jerick McKinnon's going to get a couple series. Pacheco's going to get in there and play. And oh, by the way, 2 different calls dropped real quick. 9133. Sorry, we will get to the calls,
We're gonna
I
get
promise.
you. It's been like 2 minutes.
I know.
Chill
Come on.
out.
It's been almost a year since we've taken phone calls.
Yeah.
Like, what was the day after the Bengals game, which I didn't even want to take phone calls. I just
don't
wanted
know.
to
That day
lay
didn't happen.
in the fetal position, for 4 hours. That was an awful show to do. It was kind of cathartic, but it was an awful show to do. Luckily, let's move on because yesterday was a fun day. I do wonder what that rotation's going to be because I think everybody's going to have a role. It's just a matter of, is it going to be where Pacheco's going to end the game with 7 carries? Edwards-Helaire is going to end the game with 11 or 12. Jerick's going to end the game with, 7 or 8. And if Ronald Jones is up for one of those guys that are injured, what's he going to end up like? Is it going to be a true running back by committee, by series, and not necessarily for instance, let's say the Browns yesterday. You'd have Chubb and then Hunt comes in the same series, back and forth, right? This is Jerick McKinnon, this is your series. Clyde, it's your series. Pacheco, you're in, it's your series. It's different than what other teams may do with a running back by committee. I just wonder if the game went along and it was closer, what that would be like. But boy, that's like the 17th thing down the list that randomly we got to.
Well, so here, I'll yank it up to the 4th or 5th thing on the list.
Great, let's do it.
Because here's where I think it all comes together. Clyde looked great. He was in space constantly. This, I don't have any metric to support this. This is me watching the broadcast footage one time and watching it live. But I feel pretty good about the sentence. I think that's the most space Clyde Edwards-Helaire has consistently been in since he was playing football in Louisiana. I have not seen him exist in that much room as a Chief. He looked good in the space and maximized it there, not taking anything away from him. I'll bring it all together. Isaiah Pacheco comes in to kind of close out in garbage time. Looks like the real deal.
He looks pretty good.
Looks pretty good. Not like you have to force his way onto the field in the first quarter as a rookie, but looks good. Jerick McKinnon looked explosive with the ball in his hand. His first touch, Beard said to me before I could say to him, that's going to be the open on the show tomorrow. Jason's going to get a whole hour on the Jerick McKinnon touches because he looked good with the ball in his hands. 5.2 yards
Edwards-Helaire's on my team now. I'm totally team CEH.
And we all love the pistachios around here. We're all cracking the nut.
That's right.
Pacheco, 5.2 yards per carry. Edwards-Helaire, 6. McKinnon, 5.5. Through the air, of course, Hilaire's 2 touchdowns. McKinnon's 3 receptions. Pacheco didn't catch a pass. Each of the running backs individually do deserve credit. They do deserve highlighting. But I don't think that's the number one story for the running game. The offensive line was creating space, and schematically, what they were doing was evil. Whenever there's a dude wearing 25 who has 3 of his own linemen closer to him than any single defender, something's gone wrong for the defense or very right offensively. Every element of the Chiefs' offense, through the air, on the ground, every element was executed incredibly and was schematically laid out absolutely artfully. Cardinals didn't have all their pieces. We know all this. It'll be different against the Chargers. It'll be different throughout the rest of the season, how it all comes together. I don't know. But for one game, oh, man, the offense looked good.
So I want to go back to the first preseason game, the takeaways that we had. We talked about that first possession. That was awesome. What was it, like 10 targets and 9 receivers or whatever on that first possession. It was, I think it was like 6 or 7, but I'm exaggerating.
It felt like a lot.
It felt like a lot, and Juju was not one of them.
I caught a pass.
That's right. Yeah, Beards actually had a target. He dropped it. Nice
Come
job.
on, Beards.
Thanks a lot, guy. We talked about the running game. That, did it look good? Well, was it the running backs? Is it the offensive line that it's like they're good? Why are they not opening up holes against these teams, right? And it was, what will the offense do after the first possession of a game?
Yes, 100%.
Because we knew the first possession they went and scored. But then, hey, who knows what happens after that first possession? Second game, they scored the first 2 possessions. And it was, okay, well, they still look good. But, man, there were so many games last year that if you just took the first drive of the game, you would have said, okay, the Chiefs' offense is back. They figured it out. And then they were awful. So those were the 2 things I was wondering as they enter this game. I don't care about, Mahomes' rushing yards and MVS's -3. The running backs actually handing off and running the football, the Chiefs gained 5.5 yards per carry when they just simply handed the ball off to the running back.
And sometimes it was RPO stuff. Sometimes it was there was play action. And sometimes, it's going to blow your mind, they just handed the ball off.
Just power.
And it worked.
Yeah,
just thump. Okay, here we go. 6 yards. Cool.
Yeah.
Now it's 2nd and 4.
Go get to the next level. Go scrape off whatever defensive lineman you're supposed to double team, and then boom, get to the next level, take the linebacker or the safety, and make it a 10-yard gain, an 11-yard gain. So that was awesome to see. That answered a lot of questions, whether J.J. Watt was there or not, or whoever else. That was still good to see. The offense and the possessions. The first drive was incredibly efficient. It was surgical by Patrick Mahomes. And then it's, okay, we've seen this. Do they stay doing this? Does the defense adjust? Do they have trouble adjusting back to that? No, they had 9 total drives in the game, scored 6 touchdowns and also a field goal. 1 punt and the Juju Smith-Schuster fumble, which they ended up getting back and kicking a field goal anyway. You can make a case that they probably would have ended up with a field goal on that drive anyway, just to take the time out and then kick the field goal at the end of half without the Cardinals getting the ball back and having 4 plays and turning it over back to the Chiefs on downs. Regardless, that's a drive that happened. It's a fumble that happened. So it was 9 drives, 6 touchdowns, and a field goal. But we talk about the first drive, what happened after that? 8 more drives, 5 touchdowns, and a field goal. And if we remember back to what we had seen from this team, that they had the first drive, they were scoring touchdowns 63%, or scoring on the first drive 63% of the time. The rest of the game, they were scoring just over 30% of the time. Just scoring, touchdown or field goal. First drive last year, they scored a touchdown 53% of the time. The rest of the game was at 27%. This was, 100% so far. But they went 5 of 8 the rest of the way and 6 of 8 scoring. That was a huge answer to a question that I had with last year. Sometimes the offense looked great in one drive and then it went away. This was just continued to be surgical, continued to be so annoyingly efficient for the other team. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a defensive coordinator or a defensive player or a fan watching Patrick Mahomes and the offense do what they did yesterday. It was brilliant. It was
wire
masterful.
to wire.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many times did we say, hey, why are they taking their foot off the gas? Can they keep this up into the 3rd and 4th quarter? Why are the first 15 always so good, and why is there a sputtering? We might get to one of the audio clips in this later, but it was Mahomes, I think, talking about Juju. Actually, might have been Kelsey talking about Juju. One of them was talking about Juju Smith-Schuster and that fumble. I think it was Mahomes. And saying, hey, he had the fumble. I think it was Kelsey. It really doesn't matter. But it was, hey, he had the fumble, and this was something we talked about so many times last year, the self-inflicted drive killer mistakes, typically the turnovers that bounce off a receiver's hands, or it's a fumble in the red zone, or what would have been a first down and move the sticks on 3rd, and now all of a sudden you've given the ball to the defense. You had one of those yesterday, total blip on the radar, and no feeling whatsoever that this is going to be a team that stalls out. Like, again, that happened one time in one perfect play from a defensive back. He put his helmet hit the football, and the football popped. You could see it happening in slow motion. Good play by the defense.
But Juju?
On the Juju fumble.
It was a punch.
He didn't get his helmet. You're right, his helmet came
it was
in
a punch. Yeah, it was a perfect punch, though.
It was
a knockout blow. It was like Le'Veon Bell against Adrian Peterson.
a very well executed defensive play.
In case people did not see that Le'Veon Bell knocked out Adrian Peterson in a boxing match.
Did you see the Nick Young flop was what really got me? I saw that and I was like, hold on, you can flop in basketball, but you can't flop in boxing. That doesn't. He fell out of the ring. But it was a great defensive play. And all right,
tip your cap.
Fine. Yep. All right, you got one.
Yep.
We'll see if they can put up 44 anyway. And they did. Cool. All right.
Oh, and by the way, they got one, and the defense gave them the ball right back.
Right back.
Didn't pick up a first down. They were in Chiefs territory. At that point, it was 20-7, and the Cardinals were getting the ball to start the half. If they go and score, it's 20-14, and they're getting the ball to start the second half. I don't know what it would have been. I still think the Chiefs' offense would have been incredibly efficient, and I still think they would have scored. They could have scored in the 60s if they wanted to. Like, it felt like that, although there was only one drive with Chad Henne in there, at the end. So they could have scored in the 50s, right? We know that because they could have gone and scored on that final drive because they just simply were not being stopped. The only drive that resulted in a field goal was the one before the half in which they ran out of time. One punt, one fumble. That's it. Like, they were driving and scoring touchdowns. It's what they were doing. And I know I heard you talk about the yesterday. You had mentioned the one anonymous defensive play caller with the street ball.
Yeah.
Because that's what people know Mahomes for. Not necessarily the street ball, but Cynthia talks about the off-platform throws.
Street ball in the NFL street sense, not in the Jack Del Rio sense.
Yeah, Steve Spagnuolo still think it was a plant. I think it was playing the long game. But a text comes in that said the role left to Moore should show everyone. Don't compare other players to him.
Yeah,
I totally agree. The most impressive throw to me, and what I think, look, I shouldn't say what separates Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. I think what makes him as brilliant as he is. We know. Let me put it this way. What adds to how brilliant he is outside the pocket and the off-platform stuff is in the third quarter when they were up 23-7. The Cardinals got the ball to start the second half. They were up 20-7. Cardinals, no, it was 23 at halftime. Yeah, because they kicked the field goal.
Yeah.
The Cardinals got the ball to start the second half. Chiefs forced a punt. They get the ball back, up 23-7. First play, the 35-yard dime to Travis Kelce. That was just... we hear commentators say he couldn't have stopped and placed it there any better. And that necessarily isn't true. That actually was true. If Mahomes would have stopped and said, Zach Morris, timeout, everything freezes, and he walks over there and puts the ball right in Travis Kelce's hand, that's exactly where you would want the ball. He does that so often, and it gets overlooked. But defensive coordinators, outside of the anonymous one, know that happens, which then makes the off-platform throw to Sky Moore for 30 yards that much more frustrating because if you give him time, he can put a perfectly thrown ball the right level, the right loft, just over the linebacker, reading it and seeing where Kelce is between the hashes to where Kelce catches it, by the numbers, and placing it there. It was I was more impressed, and I shouldn't be because NFL quarterbacks, in theory, should be able to make a throw like that, but we know it's difficult in the NFL.
It's hard.
Yes, it is hard. Great quarterback should make a throw like that.
Sure.
But it's, I don't know, maybe it's just because we've seen so many off-platform throws that something like that where he's just sitting in the pocket, and maybe it's because we've talked about it so often, and he's talked about trusting the protection, mechanics, sitting in the pocket, stepping the correct way, making the throw on time. And it was just freaking brilliant. And those two throws, Sky Moore for 30, Travis Kelce for 35, shows you the entire spectrum of what Mahomes can do on two plays.
And to go back to some of the things in the margins, the play between those two throws, that was a 3-play sequence. It was the Kelce play, the near fumbled snap,
that's right.
then sort of little toss to Clyde that almost got fumbled again. That was not Mahomes' best moment of the day. And then it was the Sky Moore play. If that ball bounces a different direction, the game feels different. But going back to the Juju fumble, then forcing the ball back right away from the Cardinals right at the end of the half and then turning it back into the field goal. If it's 20-7, Cardinals go score a touchdown. Maybe they go for 2 because they're trying to do the math. This game could have been tied after the first drive of the second half if the Cardinals would have driven down and scored and gone for 2 and hit it, and then gotten the ball back, driven down and scored and hit it. It was not even close to that happening.
No.
It did not feel like that was by any means a real threat for the Chiefs. But in a spot where you would, like, even last year, hold on for dear life, wondering if the defense is going to be able to stand up to this back-to-back challenge, they didn't even look fazed by it. And then you have Patrick Mahomes come and just, I would say pretty much at that point, put the stake through the heart of the Cardinals. And at 30-7, it was pretty much over. Then at 37-7, the defense kept just giving them the ball back. The Cardinals offense was desperate, and the Chiefs defense kept winning.
Yep. 913-381-0810. We do have Ryan on hold. Let's take a quick time out. Ryan, we'll get to you to start the next segment. 913-381-0810. We'll get to some texts as well. Taking your phone calls the day after every Chiefs game. We continue with more Zone. Again, 913-381-0810. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Kelce, Justin Reed. And then coming up at about 12:30 or so, we'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo, Eric Bieniemy, Dave Tobe, and some players as well. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
This guy has a rough luck with the mouth.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You know how good the offense was yesterday? The offense
How good was it?
Damn it. Let me try that again. You know how good the offense was yesterday?
How good was it?
Jason?
Jason?
We haven't even talked about the defense for the Chiefs.
We haven't.
How good they were. That's how good the offense was. 913-381-0810. Told you we'd get to your phone calls. We do that right now. Ryan leads us off here on this 2022 Chiefs season here in the Zone on Sports Radio 810. Ryan, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Woo! Happy Victory Monday, guys.
And to you as well, sir.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, I love a good overreaction after a nice little solid Chiefs victory. So I am curious. I know you guys got some calls to get to, but a knee-jerk reaction. Number of players that will, pending health, that will have career years this year with not only the Kansas City Chiefs, but obviously in all their careers. So I'm talking the likes of Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, MVS, Juju Smith-Schuster. So I'll take the answers off the line, but I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on who on the Kansas City Chiefs will have career years pending, let's just say they're all healthy. So thanks for the call. Go Chiefs, and let's kick some Charger butt on Thursday.
Love it. Thank you, Ryan. 913-381-0810. All right, so let's just start going through it. Sky Moore.
Well, that's a good one.
McDuffie.
I would say George Karlaftis.
Karlaftis.
I'm going to say Jalen Watson.
Watson.
And Justin Watson.
And Cook. Besides them, yes. I don't know that Juju gets to a career year. He had 111 yards and almost 1,500 receptions and almost 1,500 yards. So I don't think he gets there. I just don't think there's enough of a focus specifically on him.
Too many good weapons.
Yeah, even though he was the leading wide receiver of the group.
Clyde's the slam dunk. If this isn't a career year for Clyde, something's gone wrong. I mean, those might be steep expectations, but they only went higher yesterday for good reasons.
What's Clyde's career year of the last couple of years? I'm trying to.
I think he ended up with about 800 rushing yards in his rookie season.
Rookie year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely from his rookie year because he missed more time last year.
What were the total yards for Clyde in his rookie year? I'm bringing.
let you know.
You do that, and I'm going to bring up
803 if I remember right.
803 rushing. Woo.
803 total.
1,100 yards from scrimmage total.
Wow, that's
quite a few.
Yeah,
quite a few total yards. That might have been unfair to say. It would be kind of a disappointment if he doesn't hit that. But he had 13 games. Good Lord. They worked him quite a bit.
MVS, his career high is 38 receptions. I think he'll pass that this year.
I'll tell you what, just really quickly, as I was watching the game yesterday, because it was like Pacheco wears 10, confusing with Tyreek. But MVS had that catch like in the midfield or whatever, and he just instantly turned and
Upfield. He turned forward
up the field, and this is low-hanging fruit. But it was like, man, it's really weird to see a number 11 just catch the ball. And it was immediate. He just caught it and went, okay, I'm going this way now.
Yep.
It was wild.
Now there's 17 games, so even if you average 2 receptions per game, it's going to get you to 34. His career high is 38, so I think he can get there in receptions. Yards, 690. I think he could get there, but I think it's going to be close. Touchdowns, career high of 6.
His stat lines are crazy.
Probably right around there. So, like, career year, I think career high in receptions, I think MVS gets there. Juju, I don't think he gets to a career year. Kelce, I can see him getting close, but it's so hard to do because of Kelce. I'm with you. I think Edwards-Helaire, number one. I think Juan Thornhill. If we're actually going like guys that can have career years.
No, we should.
Juan Thornhill, I think, can have one. I think L'Jarius Sneed, his start yesterday is certainly one game into what could be a phenomenal year. What he had, 8 tackles, 2 pass defense, and a sack yesterday. So if you had him in...
That was a wide-open sack.
It was. My son was like, Daddy, is that roughing because he hit him in the neck? I said, well, he's 5 foot, so that's the first one, and he ducked. I said, it shouldn't be called roughing, son, when he's going to tackle him and the quarterback then ducks into the arm, clotheslining him. I said, but yes, sometimes that could be called.
If his name was Brady, then yes.
Yes,
right.
Tom Brady, that is a penalty. And then there was another time where Murray was running and they grabbed his jersey. He's like, Daddy, that's a horse collar. I said, whose side are you on?
Come on, kid. You want dinner tonight or not?
Come on. Go to your room. So he's got an idea of the penalties, right? But yeah, I think Juan Thornhill has a chance to have a career year. He said All-Pro. I think he was really good yesterday. Snead has a chance to have a career year.
Justin Reed should. I mean, we're picking a lot of guys defensively because the stats, I guess, are easier to put together. For the pass catchers, it's hard because it's the good problem we've talked about some in the offseason of, hey, now they suddenly have more mouths to feed. So I don't know who's going to have a career year statistically from the pass catching group. But they might all have career years from like the best offense they've been in group. You know, at least MVS and Juju probably. Again, that Steelers offense that had Antonio Brown and Juju. I don't want to sweep that one under the rug because that was incredible.
Le'Veon Bell, Juju, Antonio Brown,
and Ben Roethlisberger still had ligaments in his elbow.
He
yeah,
was good.
It's a fun question though because I think my instinct is a lot of guys, and in reality, the stat lines might not actually reflect that. I think the moving of the machine might just reflect that, though.
Pacheco, we forgot about him. He will
probably
have a career
year.
Let me ask you this though, Mahomes.
I mean, that first year was pretty wild.
It was absolutely wild.
Statistically, probably not. What is your? I guess it depends on what metric we're going to use from that, right?
So let's just say the career highs and everything. Career high touchdowns we know is 50. Career high yards we know is almost 5,100, so 5,097. Career high quarterback rating is 113. Career high completion percentage is 66.3, which by the way was last year. So he's at 77% right now. 360 and 5.
It's so silly.
A quarterback rating of 144. It's only one game in. But I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Like,
no, just his stats from yesterday.
If we're talking about MVS and Juan, Thornhill and Snead, I know you're talking about somebody who's already had an MVP season, but can Mahomes put together a career year this year? 100%. Absolutely he can do that.
Yeah, sure.
Because, by the way, if you didn't get Mahomes at plus 900,
it's not going back to that.
You ain't getting that anytime soon.
No.
Unless, I'm not even going to say it, but you're not getting that. He's now the second betting favorite. He moved up to plus 750. So you can still get good value on him. He moved ahead of Brady. It was Allen, Brady, Mahomes. Yeah. He moved ahead of Brady at plus 750. Josh Allen is plus 500. But yeah, I don't think that's going backwards. I think if you haven't got in yet, I would go ahead and get in now because that thing will continue to go up and up and up.
So there's a commenter here that's along the lines of like Mahomes with the career year or whatever. It's betters. I don't think we'll see a career year from him ever again unless the defense poops the bed because that was a big part of it. That year was just having to score all the freaking time because that was the only way they were going to be able to win all those games.
But let me offer this as a rebuttal, devil's advocate. The defense did not poop the bed yesterday. They were just surgically efficient. They were just masterfully efficient, and he had 5 touchdowns, 360, completed 77% of his passes, and they were up 37-7.
I think for Mahomes, this is going to be a narrative-changing season.
And that's part of it. Narrative helps in the MVP.
Hugely. Absolutely. Yeah, no question. That's why Herbert and Allen have the odds they do is because narratively, those guys are going to win an MVP at some point in their career, you assume, and voters are going to want to give it to elite quarterbacks. But I don't know. Again, statistically, career years is a harder game to play for me than narratively career years. And if you go narrative career years, I do think this is going to be one for Mahomes, certainly for Clyde. I think Juju has a chance to have that, where he's no longer kind of not quite a one-year wonder. I haven't heard anyone call him that, but the peak and then fading back into what he really was. MVS getting to a new level, perhaps. I think all of that is on the table.
Out of all the flavors, I know I'm choosing salt right now, but I do appreciate ESPN having a discussion of what's the bigger deal from yesterday, Mahomes 5 touchdowns or Burrow's 5 turnovers.
At least
there's a lot
fun,
there's a lot of flavors to choose, and I know I'm choosing salt, but I don't care. Let's go to Thomas next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thomas, what's on your mind, sir? Go right ahead.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
We are doing just fine, man. Hope you're doing well.
Well, I am, but I think you guys need to turn it down a little bit. I understand the enthusiasm and everything, but let's be honest. The Cardinals didn't have a full deck yesterday, so can you draw – to me it seems like you're drawing all these conclusions, and I just don't want to draw a whole lot of conclusions based on a team that was had injury problems, and we almost had a full deck yesterday. My thing is, I think we'll be able to draw a better conclusion after this game Thursday, because the two tackles that we have are going to see something that they didn't see yesterday. Okay, they're going to be pushed, and I just think we need to calm it down a bit. Okay, I mean, I think, and I'm a little concerned with Chris Jones. I might as well hit this right now. This is a guy that has no sacks in playoff games for the last week, and he keeps using the same line. It's getting there, whatever he's using. But the point is, he's paid to get sacked. I don't need to. If you have to rip that guy's clothes off, Chris Jones, you bring him down. You didn't bring Joe Burrow down. You haven't sacked anybody in the playoffs. I need to see that, okay? Because for me to draw a real conclusion, I need to see it playing against a complete game, against a real quality team. And that's what's going to happen this weekend. Because my question to you is, what happens if things change on Friday Thursday when you come in? How are you going to feel then?
Well, with new data, I can change my thoughts. All I have is one game to go off of. I have 3 preseason games in which we talked about how efficient the offense looked. Would that translate to the regular season? And we have one game of data in which it translated, and Patrick Mahomes was, I've used the word a couple of times, I'll continue to use it, surgical in how efficient they were. Yes, the Cardinals did not have a full deck, but there's still professional players out there, and Mahomes made him look like he was playing the preseason Arizona Cardinals that were backups out there. So I think that matters. Am I saying the Chiefs are now winning the Super Bowl? No, nobody said that. I'm talking about questions we had that at least were answered in one game. There's no conclusions in the fact that the Chiefs aren't going to lose or anything. If they lose to the Chargers on Thursday, yeah, we have more information and we can change our thoughts as the season goes along. Just like last year after week 1, they beat the Browns and it was, wow, Chris Jones at defensive end. He's got 2 sacks. Look at Mahomes to Tyreek Hill. They figured it out. Boy, and that conversation changed pretty quickly once we saw more and more of the team as the season progressed.
Well, I respect that, Jason. I'm just saying, I guess I'm a little show me more against better people, because Mac is going to be flip-flopping along with Bosa. And truly, the game comes down to the offensive defensive lines. We both understand that. And so I guess I'm just trying to keep this thing in perspective. I mean, I saw what he did yesterday. I didn't expect anything less from Patrick Mahomes. I'm probably the one person who would take those odds that you said about Patrick Mahomes and say to you that I believe he is going to have a better year than he had in his rookie year. I really do, because he's got more options. And because this guy has now been in the league long enough now, he's reading defenses where he didn't read them when he first came in. I think he truly could have that kind of year. And I also think that, I just think he has more options. He can do more. I think everybody on this team needs to understand that.
Thomas, I appreciate the phone call, man, 913-381-810. And I appreciate the perspective, but let me offer this at the end there. Thomas wants us to slow our roll and calm down a little bit, and we'll see what happens against the Chargers. But at the end, he says that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a better year than his rookie year, and he'll put money on that. When we were tempering that and going, I don't know, that rookie year was pretty phenomenal, Tom was like, hey, calm down, guys. Mahomes is going to have a better year than he did his rookie year, and he's going to put up better numbers across the year, his second year, right, in 2018. He's going to put up better numbers across the board because he's got more weapons, and that's why it's going to be better. Well, if that's the case, then I'm not sure what the tempering needs to be. Because if he's going to do that, that means the offensive line's pretty good. That means his weapons are pretty good. That means they're scoring a lot of points. That means they're pretty damn good.
There's room for all of that, I think. I think clearly the Cardinals are not playing with a full deck. But also, when the game started, it was, a 6.5-point line? It wasn't 20. I'm going to find a way to shoehorn KU football here like I did on the postgame show last night. Week 1, KU went out and handled business against a much wider spread than the Chiefs had against the Cardinals. Then you went out in a second game against a much improved opponent that was going to give you a much harsher test. And they still handled their business. There you go. A little 2-0 KU mention in the first hour of the show today. How about that? The Chiefs did what they needed to do and then much more against the Cardinals. We can't sit here and say that looked good, but we're going to just not say anything else until Thursday and then leave 4 hours of silence, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I know Thomas knows that we got to talk about it. The Mahomes reading defense's point, I think, is very good. The pass rush that the Chargers have will test these tackles more than the Cardinals did.
100%.
That's all absolutely true. I'm going to talk about Chris Jones later in the show when we have a little more time. I can't stand for that. A lot of the other things Thomas said, I understand where that comes from. But it's the info we have. And one game in, this start to what we know, I think justifies what we've been talking about so far today.
And as good as they were yesterday, and how awful I felt the last time I saw the Chiefs play a regular or a game that counted, I ain't trying to draw back the enthusiasm today.
We've been
maybe
doing
tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday, and then if it goes, south on Thursday, then definitely Friday. But right now, I'm enjoying what I saw from this offense when all the doubters and all the people were talking about the struggles that they'll have and no Tyreek Hill, and they shut up a lot of people, and I don't think that I'm going to shut up today about doing that.
We did like 3 months of talk on 0 games and then talk on preseason games after training camp. We got a regular season game where they played their starters not only until not just deep into the game, but until they were winning by so much that it didn't even matter. There's stuff to take away there. It's not the full season yet. Damn good start.
More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So I looked.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, went a little long in that segment. Kyle, we'll take your call to start the next hour. 913-381-810. Continue with your phone calls for one more hour. 913-381-810. Thoughts on the Chiefs and Cardinals. And if you want to look ahead, you can to the Chiefs and Chargers coming up on Thursday night. We'll hear from Field Yates at noon, our NFL insider from ESPN. We'll hear from the coordinators coming up at about 12:30 or so. And we still got Learn Funniest Best today as well, and about 30 other things to get into from the Chiefs game yesterday and even around the NFL, in that the AFC South is trash. Ugh. The leader in the AFC South is 0-1. Leading the division with a tie. Two teams tied with a tie. There you go. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Get back into more Chiefs on the other side of the break. 913-381-810.
Red Mondays.
The Sports Center is brought to you by Full Moon Productions. Full Moon Productions is seeking part-time actors positions for The Edge of Hell, The Beast, and Macabre Cinema Haunted Houses. Go to Full Moon Productions' website for details and an application. It was a blowout victory for the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday in a 44-21 dominant win over the Arizona Cardinals, and frankly, it wasn't that close. Patrick Mahomes was nearly perfect from the pocket and beyond, 30 for 39, 360 yards, averaging over 9 yards per pass attempt for 5 touchdowns, in just about a perfect game. Isaiah Pacheco ultimately led the team in rushing, largely on late work. Clyde Edwards-Helaire second in rushing with 42 yards on the ground, but catches 2 touchdowns on his 3 receptions in the passing game. We'll continue to break it all down on the other side of the break here in The Zone. I'm Joshua Brisco. This is SportsCenter.
You're in The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I think it's just the Kansas City barbecue just leaking through my pores. Makes me a little slippery out there.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Let me get this out of the way for the insecure K-State fans out there.
No. Here's the very secure Mizzou fan.
Oh, no, I'm totally secure.
I know.
Tweet comes in from Ozzy, Everyman a Wildcat. Probably going to regret this, but I'm going to listen to the first part of Jason Anderson today just to see if and to what extent he discusses K-State throttling Mizzou. Well, here's the thing. The Chiefs played yesterday. And I don't think I'm the one to go after with your insecure K-State looking for a narrative. I've been loving K-State up all offseason. Said that they've got a chance to win the Big 12, put money on Deuce Vaughn to win the Heisman, and said the game Saturday wouldn't be close. I'd go pick the scab somewhere else.
Whoa! Remember this voice?
Whoa!
Hi, Shane. I love you. You're not one that I'm talking about,
I know,
by
I
the
was
way.
just going to say M-I-Z boo-hoo.
Hey, Shane.
But nobody's crying, though.
Hey, Shane, just turn off Jason's mic and you host for a minute.
Oh, yeah, I've dreamed of this moment for years.
Have you, though?
This is the first time you've ever turned off Jason's mic?
Just turning Jason's mic off.
Well, that too. No, but I'm not the one crying about it.
Hey, happy belated birthday, Shane. I was going to come by your office on your actual birthday and pop a party popper or blow a party horn or something to hopefully make you mess yourself, and I couldn't find one. So, happy birthday.
Yeah, but I went by his office and said, happy birthday to him.
Well, you also gave him a great present. Your football team stinks.
Yeah, they do. But, I mean, even on Sunday Sound-Off last night, the question was more how bad Mizzou was or more how good K-State is. The other two gentlemen on the panel picked Mizzou was bad. One guy with 2 thumbs here said, no, K-State was really, really good. Which they are. If you're looking to yell at the clouds, go yell at the clouds.
You're a Mizzou guy, though. Honestly, man, I think
I'm
this is fair play.
I'm a Mizzou guy that actually brings reality.
No, I know.
I'm a Mizzou guy that brings reality.
No, I'm looking at the tweet, though. You know what? I'm Team Ozzy, damn it. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can win Ozzy back. Here's what I will say. This tweet didn't say to see what extent he discusses his Mizzou team being way worse than he thought they would be. It was just people like to tune in college rivalries to hear their rivals be sad. And you're a Mizzou guy, and that was a total throttling on Saturday. And I don't know that you can do anything about it other than say you were right about K-State being good. You're right about this game not being close. You were correct, but you also should be a little sad. And in a rivalry game, but opposing fans like to feast on the sadness of other fans. We do that all the time.
Well, that's fine, but I
just
don't...
bottle up your tears. Cry a little, fake a tear, put it in a bottle and sell it.
I've said this before. I loved to rivalry until I moved and saw how ridiculously petty and childish the rivalry was.
That's
with
fair.
Grown people, and I thought, is that how I acted? And the answer is 100% yes.
Yeah.
That's how I acted.
Sure.
And so then I moved back, and I'm like, it's not worth it. I'm trying to make sure the grass in the front yard continues to grow. I'm trying to make sure little man is, well fed, and little princess is well, that everything's good.
Is that what you call me?
Yes. That's what I'm dealing with. Mizzou got their butts whipped. They did by a really good K-State team. But I'm talking Chiefs today.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Because that's the story.
I also would have led with that.
If I had a Sunday morning show, I'd probably lead with KU, K-State, and the fact that Mizzou has the worst quarterback situation of the 3.
not exactly a cover yourself in glory situation for the quarterbacking in that game, kind of regardless.
It's not.
But K-State had the thing. I
have no fun. I have no problem if K-State fans want to have fun at Mizzou's expense.
Yeah.
What I don't want is Anderson's going to be making excuses and.
That's not what this guy said, though. He didn't say you were making excuses.
Oh, but the response with the...
I'm not down in the mentions. You know, I only dig so far into the mentions when I can help myself.
And then the all Chiefs so far, no mention of K-State. Not shocked. Not shocked. I mean,
Well, yeah, that we are talking Chiefs today.
Right.
We're going to have to do that. They won yesterday. I don't know if anybody saw. Everybody listening to us right now, with very few exceptions, is a Chiefs fan. Maybe about a third is a Mizzou, maybe about a third is K-State, maybe about a third is KU. I worked in a little KU football analysis in the first hour totally by accident.
I know.
Look at us.
But you didn't do K-State. Nice job.
I know. I'm a hater. I'm sorry. I'm a hater.
Not really the one to go after to say, boy, this is a guy that makes excuses for Mizzou. Nope. Not at all. Not at all.
I don't think you make excuses for Mizzou, Jason.
I give credit where credit is due. And I give plenty of criticism when it's due as well.
I do also just think it's fun when Shane walks by the glass and just taps on the glass like you're a zoo animal and just goes, M-I-Z.
M-I-Z. That's right.
I think that's fun.
That's fine.
Some rivalry stuff is annoying. I am the person to agree with on that. I'll be right beside you.
If somebody wants to have fun and be like, hey, your Mizzou Tigers suck. Yeah, they do. But the trying to create a narrative is what annoys me.
Sure.
And you know that.
Sure, absolutely.
I recognize this personality flaw.
Your mirror works. Yeah, sure, I get it.
I recognize that these are things that I can't just let go on Twitter, is when the narrative is different. Like on Thursday night when somebody tweets and says a picture of Michael Jordan and the I took that personal, and it says anytime somebody loves Josh Allen as a good quarterback, this is Jason. I'm like, I've said that Josh Allen is one of the best, and if somebody wanted to argue Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes, I disagree, but I'm not going to sit there and really argue with you, and I got the Bills winning the Super Bowl. So I couldn't resist. I got to respond to that.
He's just a Chiefs hater.
That's right.
Disagree all you want.
Clyde.
Disagree all you want, but don't flip what I've said to fit some sort of insecure narrative.
You don't want to be misrepresented. I think that's totally fair.
That's all.
I also think it's fair for a K-State fan to tune in today to see if you have a little bit of John Michael Bluth, walking around, Michael Cera walking like a sad Peanuts character. You're not. You're not. We're talking Chiefs, and you're not. But if I was a K-State fan, at
John
heart,
Michael Bluth?
What did I? What? Sorry,
it's George Michael.
It's George Michael.
Thank you. I don't know where John Michael came from. I realized I was going to just say Michael and then say Michael Cera, and then I realized it's been a while since I've watched Arrested Development.
Sorry,
everybody.
There's always money in the banana stand.
And I got a name wrong, but it was for a TV show from 2000.
Do you know how much I would have mentioned Mizzou K-State had Mizzou won?
Led the show with it.
Zero. Zero.
You just say that now.
Zero.
I bet we would have gotten to it somewhere in here, but not in the first hour.
I don't know that we ever would have got to
honestly,
it.
I think I would have brought it up at some point just to see how you were feeling. Because that's sort of the fun part of like the rivalry element around a Chiefs game. Look, this show should be 98% Chiefs today. I love that. I think it's absolutely where we belong.
It's already been, in my opinion, too much K-State, Mizzou, or college football. To be honest with you,
yeah,
it's already been too much.
I am happy to ride with you on that front,
but also recognize personality flaw.
I also like the K-State and Mizzou playing again.
I recognize that.
For moments like this.
Let's go to Kyle next up. Let's talk some Chiefs with Kyle, 913-381-810.
What did the MNU football team do this week?
Kyle, go right ahead, sir. What is on your mind?
Man, what a great show. By the way, before you guys went to commercial, you talked about the AFC South.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's worse, AFC South or the NFC Least with the Cowboys division.
Oh, man.
Whoever wins those two divisions will be one of the clown divisions. I don't know if you want that on your title.
I mean, I thought I had the Eagles winning, but man, they made it close against the Lions, and the Cowboys were the other team that people picked to win the division, and they've lost Dak Prescott. Maybe the Giants, right? I mean, the Giants, Commanders.
Maybe Washington's odds are better.
They survived Jacksonville, but the Giants, honestly, going to Tennessee and winning, that's legit. That's absolutely legit.
It was legit. By the way, so I got a couple things.
Yep.
The first thing is, man, that is probably maybe I'm being biased. So, Jason, please, you can call me out on this. But this has got to be the best. We've seen Mahomes year after year after year, but I want to say this was his best game he's ever played. And here's why. we talk about the deep ball, how good he is when it comes to the deep ball and everything like that. But I just thought he was not pressing at all. He was finding wide open guys, and he looked really comfortable, more comfortable than I've seen in the past. And I could be wrong, but he looked very comfortable. That's the first thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
The second thing is the defense. My gosh, Karlaftis. I saw Chris Jones in there. I thought I saw Frank Clark on a couple plays. Nick Bolton being him, William Gay being, and then the secondary. The best coverage I've seen. Now, granted, Arizona did have their injuries, but even if Arizona had their full squad, I think we still are talking a big blowout, because the Chiefs just came out and just fired on all cylinders from the get-go. And I think we're going to see this on Thursday. On Thursday, we got a tougher matchup. But if the Chiefs do that this Thursday, I think the Chiefs win by 2 touchdowns against the Chargers. If the Chiefs play like they did against Arizona, I'll listen off the air, guys. By the way, what a great win, and you guys have a wonderful, blessed week.
Kyle, you do the same, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-0810. I mean, he was phenomenal yesterday, was Patrick Mahomes. I think, and maybe it's recent memory, but I think the best game he's ever played, I felt like, was that Buffalo divisional round game. I thought he was just absolutely brilliant in that game. He was brilliant in the first half of the championship game, and then I don't know what the heck happened after that. But what he did yesterday, the final 5 games of the regular season last year, the 2 games in the playoffs, and the first half against the Bengals, he's been unstoppable. He has just been locked in, has Patrick Mahomes. So, I mean, could we go through and pick out what the best games were? It'd be fun, because there's a whole lot to discuss and argue about and see which one it is. The defense, I'm glad we got to it finally.
Yes.
The defense, and I agree with him. Even if it was a full squad, I still think the Chiefs win that game. Do they win by 3 touchdowns? I don't know. Maybe they do, because maybe the Chiefs continue scoring and they keep their starting defense in with that final touchdown drive for the Cardinals. The backups were in. So the Cardinals go down and score. So do they hold them? I don't know. Rondell Moore and DeAndre Hopkins, they make a difference. Obviously, they make a big difference in what the Cardinals can do. Granted, I don't know how many they win by, but the Chiefs win that game against the Cardinals if they had a full deck. The defense, though, was really good. They gave up 29 rushing yards to Kyler Murray. 21 of them on one play. You'd rather the 21-yarder not happen? But he gained 8 yards rushing the rest of the game. And what I found to be really impressive about this defense, against the Cardinals team that has Hollywood Brown, has Kyler Murray, no DeAndre, no Rondell Moore, granted.
And your accountant, Greg Dorsch.
That's right. That's right. The law firm of Dortch and Murray. So plays for the Cardinals of 10 or more yards. Plays for the Cardinals of 15 or more yards. Plays for the Cardinals of 20 or more yards. 10 or more, they had 6 total. 15 or more, they had 4. And 20 or more, they had 3 total on the day. But here's your perspective. 3 of the 6 came on their second drive in which they scored a touchdown. 3 of the 6 10-yard plays. 2 of the 4 15-yarders came on that drive, and 2 of the 3 20-yarders came on that drive. The final 35 plays after that drive in which they scored 7 points, the final 35 plays, they had 3 plays that gained more than 10 yards. Their final 35 plays, 3 plays gained more than 10 yards. I don't care if they're missing a couple of pieces. They have Kyler Murray. They've, got Hollywood Brown. They've got some guys. And I'm talking about a 10-yard gain. It was Dortch who had a 14-yard catch. Eno Benjamin's 16-yard run up the middle. And Hollywood Brown's 26-yard catch. Those are the 3 plays that gained more than 10 yards after that second drive in which they scored. That's what the defense did. That's how good the defense was That I know they gave up 14 points, but they were dominant, man.
Dominance is the right word there. Here's another stat. What's the most important stat to use it to measure a defense's success, or if you could guarantee a blowout in one mechanic? If I was a defense, I would say, let me win turnovers. Beard started that. Did you have a fun joke that I jumped on?
I was going to say a W.
If you let me say, hey, your team wins the turnover battle 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, something like that, I'd say, fantastic. My team has won.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't force a turnover.
No.
There were no takeaways. It was just thudding excellence. That is something we have not seen very much of in the last, in the Andy Reid era, right? Like in this last decade of excellent football. Still, it seems like it's kind of about feast or famine, turnovers, or bend, don't break, whatever it is. And look, there is, this can go back to one of the callers we had earlier, to where we're at now, to how we look ahead to Thursday. There is a distinct difference between they did this against the Cardinals and saying they will do this against the Chargers.
Absolutely.
Two totally different things. If you would have given me this result ahead of the game, I would have been blown away because of the thudding excellence, the methodical nature on both sides of the ball. I was coming into this game so ready for one of the rookies to give up a 60-yard touchdown. I wouldn't have even worried about it. If Brian Cook would have been out of position and something would have gone over his head, somebody would have called in and said, I don't know about this rookie. And I'd say, man, he's out there in his first NFL game with 9 other rookies around him, it feels like. That's barely an exaggeration. That would have been okay with me. Just be fast and violent and make your mistakes quickly. As Justin Reed's talked about, Spags talked about. Make mistakes, make them fast, don't make them again. How many mental mistakes did you see yesterday? I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah,
you go through the film with Spags, I'm sure there are a bunch. Little things here and there. What was the biggest mental error? I don't have a good answer for that question, which is the point.
Yeah, Spags may answer today. Like if somebody asked, was there a play or something you thought, okay, that guy was out of position or read it wrong? You don't have to give names and throw anybody under the bus. But were there a couple plays that you're like, we could have got burned there had something different happened, or had this guy not got pressure at this particular time, could have been beat over there. I don't know. I can't. The 4th down and 2 right before half, when I think it was Dortch, he slips. If he doesn't lose his footing, he's open, and is that somebody with a mental error out of position, or is that just somebody selling out for James Conner and them rushing the football, or even Kyler Murray on a play action fake, keeping it himself, something like that, or it was a good play call. Dortch lost his footing. It happens. And so, they get off the field there.
I'm also glad you mentioned that drive, because I didn't even mention this. I didn't get to this in the postgame show. I thought it in real time. On 3rd and 5, Murray to Dortch, I believe that's when Justin Reed makes that tackle that just sticks him there, forces them into 4th and 2. The 3 points the Chiefs got on the back of that should belong to Justin Reed, even though he didn't actually kick the field goal, even though he wanted to. Those are his 3 points just as much as they're Harrison Butker's, because if that hit is not made perfectly there and stuck there, the Cardinals keep the line moving, if you will, and have a chance to go score a touchdown before the half. And now you're talking about 20-14 at halftime instead of 23-7. This was an incredibly complimentary game of football, from the D-line to the linebackers to the secondary to the defense to the offense. Just complimentary excellence.
So you mentioned if Brian Cook or somebody like that, just throwing a random name. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cook family. Even you, Brady. The entire Cook family there as well. If something like that had happened, you'd be like, it's a rookie. It's week 1. I was thinking about this yesterday too. Last night, there were a lot of, hey, let's chill, it's just week 1 vibes yesterday around the NFL. Tennessee, hey, you know what? It's week 1. Calm down. Things happen. Titans had a game or 2 last year in which they lost, and it's like, how did that happen? They were still the number 1 seed. Calm down. It's all good. Colts, it's first game for Matt Ryan. He's getting used to it. Texans are scrappy, with Lovey. So it's the first week. Let's calm down here. Patriots, Dolphins were pumped and ready to go. Didn't have a great offensive game there from Mac Jones. It's week 1. Let's chill. Bengals, the offensive line is still meshing, getting used to each other. It's week 1. Things are going to be fine. Look, this team responded and went to a Super Bowl last year when they had some rough losses. All right, it's just week 1. There's a lot of the opposite of it's just week one, what we're seeing or what we're talking about with the Chiefs, and wow, what the Chiefs did yesterday. And I'm going to ask Field Yates about this. It might be anecdotal, but the Cardinals don't play their guys in the preseason. The Bengals have a rebuilt offensive line in which the first game action they played together was against the Steelers yesterday in their rebuilt offensive line, and they got dominated up front. But you know what? They didn't get injured in the preseason. You know who didn't get injured in preseason games? Cardinal starters. You know who got injured in practice and cooking? Cardinal starters. So it's just, you can get injured anywhere, but one team, when you start out and you've been playing well, it's anecdotal. I get it, because I haven't looked at every single team as to who played their starters or not, but the Rams don't, and they look bad.
Yeah.
The Bengals don't, which made no sense because they have a revamped offensive line. They look bad against trying to protect Joe Burrow. The Cardinals don't.
Kingsbury was asked about that after the game, and he did say, last year I think they played maybe one series with the starters or something like that, and then he said, "Hey, and we started off really hot."
So it's anecdotal.
So he said when he was asked about it, he said he didn't balk at it or anything, didn't change anything, but they looked out-coached, out-schemed, out-executed. You could have maybe that has something to do with the preseason, maybe not, I don't know, but it was visible to the naked eye. The passive observer could see that one team was in a better spot going into that game than the other.
Absolutely. Let's hear from Storyteller next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Storyteller, go right ahead, sir. What's on your mind?
Gentlemen, always a pleasure.
Yes, it is all on this side of the table.
And Josh, welcome back to daylight.
Thank you very much. I've seen more of the sun in the last couple months than I have in the years prior. I appreciate that.
That's right.
I have 3 observations. One is about Hardman. He had a couple of chances where he didn't really short on it, but he must not have seen the ball very well. Have you ever heard that problem with him?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So this is something that Seth Kaiser specifically has talked about, that where Hardman is not as good tracking the ball as a guy like Tyreek Hill. That's a skill that we don't have a very good way of tracking very often. But Mahomes after the game also did say that he said he owed McColl 2 touchdowns. He got one of them back to him later on. But it sounded like Mahomes was unhappy with his throw there, but it feels like he and Hardman are always really close to being on the same page.
Well, I've always said that Hill, it was like he had 20/10 vision. He could spot him so well.
Yeah.
I agree.
100%.
Another one is that Murray, once he signed his contract, he's still terrified of being hit. Whereas Mahomes, it terrified me every time he got hit. He got clobbered several times.
That's great. What was your final thought, Storyteller?
And the third one was, it looks like the AFC West is going to just fatten up on the NFC West.
Yeah,
you get that feeling too?
Yeah. That divisional cross section could be. Well, I'll tell you what, the AFC West will probably beat up on a lot of other divisions, but that particular one is looking tasty.
Storyteller, thank you for the call, man. 913-381-810 to join us. 913-381-810 to call in and be a part of the show.
I love that we're all more afraid of Patrick Mahomes getting hit than Patrick Mahomes is. That is perfection.
Absolutely. Yep. McCole Hardman, he talked about him, and a couple of times they were close. They were absolutely close. What I didn't get is the broadcast that didn't have a great game. Nance struggled on a couple of them. Yeah. What was it?
Eric Reed a couple times.
What did he call Fortson?
Jody. What was it, Beards?
What did he call Fortson?
Fotzren something.
No.
It was not great. There was
that on the
touchdown?
I can go find
touchdown to Jody Fotzren or something.
Yeah,
along
something
those
like
lines.
that. Yeah. And then he called Jalen Watson, Christian Matthew, who was the rookie for Arizona.
Yeah.
But again, that happens.
Yeah.
I get names wrong all the time. So who am I to throw stones? But what
You're James Anderson. That's who.
That's right, James Anderson. What I did scratch my head about a number of times was when he missed with McCole. It was Fortston. Fortston was the name.
I spoiled it on accident.
Yeah, see, there you go. You said I got the Fortston call. It was Fortston. That's what it was. The couple times that he missed with McCole, the commentary was, they're going to have to get used to this without Tyreek Hill. You know, those are things that as the season goes along, that it's like he's been playing 3 years with McCole Hardman. That's not no time. Tyreek runs those routes. McCole Hardman runs those routes. Like he's thrown deep to McCole. McCole Hardman runs the go routes as well, and he's hit them or missed them and things like that. That's the only thing. It was like there was way too much emphasis on any incomplete pass from Mahomes.
Well,
was
Tyreek
sort of like,
Hill's not here.
Well, you're gonna have to get used to it with no Tyreek. It's gonna be a slower process without Tyreek.
Underhand touchdown to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You know, Jim, the way they were able to do that without Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill would have been standing over on the sideline at that anyway. What?
That's the only, I mean,
matter.
But
Clyde
again,
was lined up as a fullback.
we are picking nits. If we're doing those things. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We continue rolling. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Catalogs on?
Brian Doyle Murphy.
Craig Stout.
Murray. Damn it.
That's the famous part of his name is Murray, Jason.
I know.
Why did you make him Murphy?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB as we talk a lot of football today. Chiefs get the win over the Arizona Cardinals yesterday in dominating fashion. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. And we got Learn Funniest Best as well. We'll hear from the coordinators. K-State and KU also won over the weekend, in case people did not know that.
What did Mizzou do? Did they play? Were they off?
They got
they
their
were
ass
off, right?
whipped.
Okay.
They were off, actually.
They might as well have been.
They were run off by a better team, better players, and a better coach. That's what they were run off by. Yes.
You know what?
So in case anybody was looking for that information, that they tuned into the show specifically for that information, that's what happened.
Can I get a quick Eli Drinkwitz heat check? Just right now, how you feel?
Oh, it's warming up.
Okay.
It's warming up.
But that's in a hot seat way, not in a hot from the field kind of way.
No, that's cold.
Yeah, okay.
But the seat is warming up because you probably need to be competitive in some of those games. A lot of talk.
Okay, hold on. So
recruiting's good.
Jason says, fire Eli, hire Scott Frost. Got it.
Well, it would certainly cool down the seat.
It sure would. It would also cool down the program.
Jungle Jack next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. 913-381-810 is the phone number taking your phone calls up till noon. Jack, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, good, happy Victory Monday to you guys.
And to you as well, sir.
And a glorious day it is. Did not see, I was 90% sure the Chiefs were going to win, but wow.
Mm-hmm.
I kept thinking they were going to hit that lull that they always hit and let the other team climb back into within 3 points. And every time I predicted it didn't happen. And the defense just looked amazing because of that. And but one thing I haven't heard anybody talk about is Sky Moore in the return game. And this rookie, I mean, he looks like a 10-year veteran back there returning kicks. And I several times on possessions, there's things that Hartman would have been waving off, and these things would have bounced down to the 5, and he just sticks his nose in there, gets them, takes hits, moves the ball forward. I mean, that's another asset that we're maybe not talking about, is because when you start out inside your own 10 as opposed to the 17 or 20, that's a huge difference. And I think it's amazing to see Sky Moore make that big of an impact already. We're so used to these rookies not doing anything for the first year, not playing, not getting on the field. And just not just him, but some of the other rookies too. It was really cool to see. So that's all I got, fellas. I'm Gandhi.
Jack, I appreciate the phone call, man. Thank
Get something
you.
to eat,
Say
man.
Gandhi.
Come on.
I didn't know what he was saying. I thought he was like, am I going? I'm glad you brought up Sky Moore because so many times we've had conversations about Mecole Hardman in punt returning and the nerves that are generated by watching the ball in the air and wondering where Mecole Hardman is going to be. Is he going to catch the ball? Is he going to let it bounce? Is it going to end up inside the 5-yard line? Is he going to catch the ball at the 3-yard line after calling for a fair catch? I was perfectly satisfied with what Sky Moore offered, and he also hasn't dropped one yet in a game.
He had kind of that funky play where he had to scoot around, but he picked up on the run,
Right, but he hasn't he hasn't made a mistake that's head scratching, and you're like, what are you doing? And we've seen a lot of that from Mecole Hardman. So because it's only one game, and we've seen some of the deficiencies in Mecole Hardman's return game, I think that also adds to the wow. I'd like to see more Sky Moore out there, but I also would like to see more of Sky returning punts and doing some of those things because it allows him to be involved in the game a little bit more when we know offensively he hasn't really been that through the preseason with the first team and even in the game yesterday with the first team. He had the awesome 30-yard catch from Mahomes with the rolling left sidearm, tongue out, catch and run. That was great, but he gets opportunities in the punt return game as well. And in fact, the second highest graded offensive player yesterday after Travis Kelce was Sky Moore, according to Pro Football Focus. Now, here's your point.
They're getting their tonsils ripped out on Twitter right now.
And here's the grain of salt that then goes along with that point in that Pro Football Focus's highest graded quarterbacks in week 1 so far.
Yeah.
Number 1, Josh Allen. Number 2, Kirk Cousins. Number 3, Ryan Tannehill. Number 4, Justin Herbert. Number 5, Jameis Winston. Number 6, Lamar Jackson. Number 7, Jalen Hurts. Number 8, Patrick Mahomes. I think you probably need to redo some of those numbers if your algorithm, and I like Pro Football Focus.
We are a pro Football Focus show here.
But I also mentioned with Pro Football Focus that it's one data point. And people may like it, may not like it. I don't want to use Pro Football Focus when it works in the favor of some things and then ignore it when it doesn't.
Just saw something about Travis Kelce's blocking grade being excellent, which I love that he's getting credit for. That's from PFF.
That's right. They're
but
like,
then
whoa,
this
whoa, whoa.
one comes up. And
hold on. I know that Mahomes was graded as the 8th best quarterback, even though he had a 144 rating. He threw 9 incompletions on 39 attempts and 5 touchdowns and 360 yards. But Kelce had a good blocking grade. So are we even now? Is it all good?
I have collapsed in my chair.
But yeah, Sky Moore was pretty good yesterday. And so I'm perfectly fine if he's going to be returning punts for the Chiefs the rest of the way.
Here's my sprinkled in Pro Football Focus quarterback grading take. Is they penalize you for a turnover-worthy throw like that one that Noah Gray had the pass breakup on. Mahomes gets graded for that as if the defender would have caught it, basically, which is whatever.
Whatever.
Fine. What I don't care for is the way that taking the easy, successful, yard-chomping things does not get rewarded in grading. And I don't know how he ends up in the same bracket as Jameis Winston or well behind Ryan Tannehill after the games they played yesterday. I kind of think the best thing we can do on that is probably to go, well, that's not right, and then keep it moving because I've seen a couple of PFF guys, some of whom have been on this show recently. They do really good work.
Yeah.
I don't know that there is an answer you could give to make that make sense to me.
Yeah, Tannehill was 20 of 33, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions though. So
they're watching film, right? They're not just taking the counting stats and stuff, which is what makes them really valuable for offensive line grading when you need a metric.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
But we watched Patrick Mahomes yesterday, and we know better.
Yeah. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. How about that? Andy Reid was asked why Mahomes seems to start hot. Maybe the best Week 1 quarterback ever.
Top 8 for sure.
Top for sure. Here's Andy Reid on why Patrick Mahomes continues to start hot.
I don't know. To me, he's pretty good all the time. I mean, we're lucky to have him. City of Kansas City's lucky to have him. The National Football League's lucky to have him because he's a good person and a good football player. So But no, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to answer your question other than I think he does pretty good all the time.
Patrick Mahomes was then asked, "Hey, Patrick, why do you start so hot?" It seems.
Yeah, I think first off, I think it's Coach Reed getting more weeks to game plan. I mean, that's always a good thing for me because he's getting guys kind of running wide open. But then I think it's how we do training camp. I think Coach Reed does a great training camp. It's hard. I mean, I'm not gonna. It's hard for everybody. But I think it prepares you to be ready week one. And then you go out there and you just execute. Coach Reed has a great game plan in. You have guys flying around that are ready to go, ready to play a game and not be at practice against each other. And we've done a great job of just executing in week one. Now let's carry it on to week two.
Andy Reid, it's because of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, it's because of Andy Reid. That's why.
I love you. You love me.
No,
we're a happy family.
You're the reason I'm good. No, you're the reason you're good. No, it's you. No, it's you. It's you.
Andy Reid has never sounded more like a grandpa on a rocking chair than, no, I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's pretty good all the time. I don't know. I'll shucks.
Sit on my knee as I bounce you up like a horsey. You
can tell, you can hear Reid like smiling as he's going, oh shucks. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's pretty good all the time.
It's probably because of me, but I'm going to go ahead and give him credit here because it's really because of him. The offense was awesome. Let's hear from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was good for the fantasy team as well. He was asked what it's like when the defense doesn't have an answer for what they're doing offensively.
The thing about our offense is you can say that we're trying to do one thing, but being able to have a quarterback and certain checks, that we know that we can come out of and do different things. I mean, I wouldn't say we were trying to do one thing. We can do whatever we feel like we can based upon the look that we see. And that's the thing, being able to have everybody on the same page, going through camp, really having those different scenarios where we were able to see those different things and nothing shocked us, which was, something that's always preached. But, we preach it. Well, Coach Reed preaches it. And the only thing we can do is listen and execute.
Come out and get the check. You know you're not surprised. Just walk us through that feeling before the ball is snapped.
All you can do is just smile in your helmet. And really try not to give it away. Because it's funny that you say that. I was on the phone with one of my boys last night, and I'm like, man, when you see things slow down and you really understand, what's going on, and what the O-line is thinking, you know the call Creed's going to make, what Pat wants to do, what TK wants to do. Once you can figure those things out and those things slow down, I mean, it's a never-ending cycle of scoring that we feel, and we feel like we can go out and no matter the situation, no matter the front, the defense that we're seeing, we can find a way to figure it out. And if it all breaks down, then we know we have the playmakers to, find something and get out of the situation that we're in.
It looks like that certainly was that yesterday. They were really good. And you just smile in your helmet and not try to give it away.
I think that right there was the clip of the day for me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get somebody in the offense who explains it in a way that makes it make sense immediately. And for me, it is, we got a quarterback who can check into anything. We have options for anything based on what they are showing us. One phrase they've used a lot, I think it's on the Athletic Football Show, that they keep talking about who has the pin last. If you're a defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, you want to have personnel, you want to have the flexibility to hold the pin last. And then you can drop what you want against the other team being on their heels. And when you're on the same page, when nothing shocks you, when everything slows down, and you have an answer for anything. Yeah, good point, Clyde. How would anybody stop you? And good thing you've got a big mouthpiece to cover your mouth, because I have to think that the smile would be visible if it wasn't for that.
Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes real quick, and then we'll go to break. But let's hear from Patrick Mahomes, who, after he threw the touchdown to Jody Fortson, he had delayed, he had gained depth and was buying time. He throws the ball, he gets hit. Jody Fortson catches the touchdown. People are having fun. They go to break, and you see Mahomes looking at a defender for the Cardinals saying, I've thrown 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns already, okay? That was number 4. All right, there's 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. All right, that was number 4. Excuse me, 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. That was number 4. Here's Patrick Mahomes asked about counting and if he has something to prove.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like I have something to prove. I mean, I'm just this guy from Texas Tech, man, that they said they couldn't play in the NFL. So I always had that mindset of going out there and proving that that we're the Kansas City Chiefs and that we still have a chance to go out there and win the AFC Championship and then win the AFC West and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I like bleep you Mahomes. I've said it the entire offseason. I think it's scorched earth. I think it's a bleep you tour. I've called it those things. I've said, Patrick Mahomes phase 2 for the Chiefs now. We saw phase 1 for the first 4 years, him as a starter. Now this is phase 2, reshuffling the deck with some different things. And so far, so good. Game 1 in the books, and it was a pretty awesome sight to see for the Chiefs. Game 2 coming up very quick against the Chargers on Thursday night. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Shane, did you like Lord of the Rings show?
No, you nerds. Talk sports. Talk about Batman.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We will continue rolling. Field Yates will be our guest. He's our NFL insider coming up at noon. Talk with him about the Chiefs, the NFL.
Do you black out during the Chiefs games, like, and you check back in afterwards, and you go like, the Texans did what? Because once it gets like 10 minutes before Chiefs kickoff, I lose track of everything else going on.
I don't host the post-game show.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
So it's a little different.
Makes sense.
I keep track of all the other things that are going on.
I try and fail.
Yeah. So I've got the Sunday ticket on my iPad next to me. I take notes on my phone while the Chiefs game is going on. So I try to keep up to date with what's happening. So I knew what was going on in that Colts and Texans game. I knew what was going on in overtime of Bengals and Steelers while the Chiefs were playing.
Some people only knew about that out of market.
That's right.
My mom was pissed.
As she should be, man. Field Yates next.
Join us in the backyard of the world.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, welcome back, Anderson in the Zone. It's ESPN. It's Sports Radio 810 WHB.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. A couple of more hours to go. We'll hear from the coordinators coming up later on this hour. Short week, so no Andy Reid today. He'll talk tomorrow with Patrick Mahomes. Chiefs win 44-21. That's what we've been talking about in the show today. Joining us now, our NFL insider from ESPN, Field Yates, joins us here in the Zone. Field, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Hey, what's going on, Jason? Good to talk to you and good to have you back. I know you were taking, I think, a day off last week, which those were acceptable, but now the football season's upon us. They are no longer acceptable. So you and I are stuck together for the next, 20 or so Mondays.
No sleep till Glendale. That's what I've said. I told my bosses I will not sleep. I won't miss games. I won't miss days. I will be here every day until the Chiefs and whoever from the NFC play in Glendale in Arizona. We'll find out.
Okay, well, I have two thoughts here. I have two quick thoughts.
Yes.
It probably won't be the Cardinals after yesterday. It probably won't be the Cardinals.
So it's going to break the it's going to break the streak of Super Bowls being hosted by the home team.
Yeah, weird how that never happened, and then it's happened, 2 straight Super Bowls. So
Yeah.
If I had to guess, and, I don't like to overreact too much to week one, but if I had to guess, the Cardinals don't strike me as a team that has the makeup of a Super Bowl contender right now.
No, they don't, and I think that's where week one is always a little more difficult to assess what took place because it's the only data we have. In about 5 or 6 weeks, we'll have a better idea of what these wins or losses mean, things like that. But it was incredibly impressive for the Chiefs, and certainly there's been a lot of glowing reviews around here from what the Chiefs were able to accomplish yesterday against the Cardinals, who were banged up for context. But, I mean, it was just dominant, 37-7. They went up 14-0. Then they went on a 24-0 run after the Cardinals scored a touchdown. I mean, it was just as good as it gets for this Chiefs team. So what did you make of that? And I know the Cardinals aren't necessarily Super Bowl caliber team, but are they better than what the Chiefs made them look like yesterday?
I think they are a little bit better than what the Chiefs made them look like yesterday. And you're right. There is a danger in overreacting too much to week one. But these are the things that I know to be indisputable for the Chiefs, is that team was extremely well prepared. That's an incredibly well-coached team, right? That shined through yesterday, is that team is going to be ready every single Sunday. They may not win every single Sunday, but they're going to be ready. And that is, no matter who your quarterback is, that matters, right? They have an elite coaching staff, and that part really showed up yesterday. And then Patrick Mahomes, I know there's never a lack of appreciation for Patrick in Kansas City, but sometimes it gets boring when you're talking about these players all the time on a national level, and you end up sort of gravitating back towards the same guy that's been there and done that, right? We like sort of the new flavor of the week, the guy who's the new trendy quarterback that everybody wants to rally around, and yet Patrick Mahomes had a none too subtle reminder yesterday that, whatever your list of top quarterbacks in the NFL looks like, Patrick either tops it or he's not that much farther down the list from number one. He was utterly brilliant yesterday, and when Jason was in Mykonos last week, Josh and I talked about whether or not what Patrick Mahomes and the offense would look like. And we talked about how, I said, hey, I don't accept the notion that a guy can be one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've ever seen the first 5 seasons of his career and worth $45 million per year and also not likely to be awesome despite losing Tyreek Hill this past off season. And through one game, I'm not saying the Chiefs don't like to have Tyreek Hill on their roster, but didn't seem to bother them that much. As we described Patrick Mahomes as the rising tide that could float all boats in the offense, and that was underselling it because he was tremendous beyond description yesterday.
He was point guard-esque. I mean, he was a composer. He was just simply putting the ball where it was supposed to go. And I don't know if Tyreek Hill was out there, if it would look the same or not. I have no idea. Nobody can ever, be able to know that. But I know there were games last year to where the bulk of the targets, it was Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. That's who he was going to a lot. Sometimes 10-plus targets each in one game. And yesterday they had targeted 10 guys, 9 receptions, or 9 different players caught a reception. There were 5 guys that had 4 or more targets. He threw 3 or more receptions to 6 different receivers yesterday. There have been games, Field, to where he's had where it's like, okay, he did target 10 guys in this game, or he did complete passes to 9 receivers or players in this game. But games in which it was spread out to where, again, 5 receivers had 4 or more targets. You had, so many other receivers that had 3 or more receptions on this team that, it's 6 of them that had 3 or more receptions on the team. That's not really what you saw last year or really any time for the majority of the time that Patrick Mahomes has had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They've gotten the bulk. And then other guys have got a target or 2 sprinkled in that could be 6 or 7 other guys, but not like this to where it was, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 4 with those guys.
Yeah, it was even, very even for the most part. And Juju Smith-Schuster was the most productive of the wide receivers. And I'm not saying that I don't think it could be really good for them, but, for those that play fantasy football, and, of course, that's a big part of my job, I'm not sitting here waking up this morning saying, okay, Juju Smith-Schuster is definitively the Chiefs wide receiver that every single week you're going to want to start. Things broke in his favor yesterday, and he was the guy that I was most optimistic on coming into the season. But to your point, what's going to make this Chiefs offense so difficult to defend is that when an opposing coach does his press conference during the week and starts rattling off the things that make the Chiefs difficult to defend, it's going to be like, well, they have Travis Kelce, who's the most productive tight end over the past 6 years, and it's not close. He's an All-Pro every single season. Juju's a really good player. Sky Moore is already showing some flashes, both as a receiver and also as a return man. We think that Marquez Valdez-Scantling has a big-time element of speed. You keep going down the list. Next thing you know, you're like, yeah, Jody Fortson can still catch a couple touchdowns for you. That's what makes this Chiefs team so difficult. It's not that it wasn't difficult over the past 4 seasons when they went to the AFC Championship game every single year, but at least early on in the year, teams are going to have to adjust to the Chiefs. And it felt like over the last season, and when there were some more difficult times, even the year prior to that, we were talking about how the Chiefs have to adjust to other defenses, right? Because defenses were sort of saying, what we are going to do is make you grind it out. No more 55-yard touchdown passes to Tyreek Hill. If you're going to beat us, and there's a decent shot that you still will, you're going to beat us because you grind a 10 or 12 play, 75-yard drive out with no play going more than 18 yards. And defenses are going to have to adjust now to the Chiefs, because if you just rest back on your laurels based off what you've done for the past 4 seasons, you're going to get diced up like the Cardinals were yesterday, because that was an absolute clinic.
And the first 4 plays of the game for the Chiefs, 3 of them were running plays. The one passing play, Mahomes ends up scrambling for 1 yard. But the 3 running plays gained 35 yards, 34 yards. So they had 3 running plays, gained 34 yards in the first 4 plays out of the gate. And I think that's where some of it is what may make them different than the last few years, really, since they had Kareem Hunt, is when you add in the element of it certainly seems like they're going to be able to rush the football. Can teams just stay back in the 2D?
What did you see that
Can they do those things? I'm not sure the strategy is to blitz Patrick Mahomes.
We've talked a lot about
I felt like didn't we put that to bed a while ago? You don't blitz Patrick Mahomes, but 54% of the dropbacks were blitzes. He threw 4 touchdowns. I guess that isn't put to bed yet.
Yeah. I mean, the strategy, here's the strategy. You have 2 strategies to defend Patrick Mahomes. One is divine intervention. The second is to hope your offense outscores the Chiefs' offense. That's really it, right? There might be a couple games this year where the Chiefs score 20 points or something like that, but in a high-stakes, high-leverage situation, if you had to ask me what my most likely outcome is for the Chiefs' offense on a given Sunday, I'm telling you, I think if you can hold them under 30, it's a win. And it may be that your offense just has to be better than the Chiefs' defense on that Sunday. And, the Cardinals' offense is fine, right? I think, to be honest with you, there's been, they've shown themselves over the past couple of years to be, at times frisky, but also at times predictable and not that great. The Chiefs will be tested on Thursday, no doubt. We'll talk about the Chargers, I'm sure. But this Chiefs' offense is so darn good that if you don't play your best offense coming out of the gates, you're going to be exactly where Arizona was yesterday, which is playing from behind. And as you just alluded to, the Chiefs this year and their ability to run the football effectively makes them that much more difficult to play from behind against, because next thing you know, not only are you down 14, but the Chiefs are turning out 8-minute drives because they can pound the rock a little bit.
Field Yates from ESPN is our guest. This may be anecdotal. I brought it up in the first hour of Field. It might be something to where just picking and choosing to support an argument. So I fully acknowledge that may be the case, but I wanted to ask you anyway. The Chiefs are a team that Andy Reid believes in playing their starters and playing guys in the preseason games, where that has become now mixed, where some teams don't do that. Some teams have the joint practices. Andy Reid doesn't believe in that. He plays the starters in the preseason. They looked crisp and clean. The one turnover was, Juju with the fumble that was punched out. Only 3 penalties in the game. The Arizona Cardinals don't, and they looked sloppy at times. The Rams don't. They looked sloppy. The Bills don't. While they were dominant over the Rams offensively, they had some issues. And the head scratcher to me
they
is
played their guys. The Bills did play.
Did they play?
Guys.
Okay, then
Fire. And they played them against the Broncos in the game when the Broncos did not
that
play their starters.
off.
Yeah, but still, I think it actually supports the argument though, because the Bills' first drive on Thursday night was like gangbusters, right? I mean, they looked ridiculous on that first drive.
Well, and the one turnover by Josh Allen wasn't. I mean, was it on him or not? It looked like a miscommunication. It wasn't just like they were fumbling the ball everywhere.
There.
But one other one too that might be just anecdotal is the Bengals and their new revamped offensive line. That really the first action they had together was against the Steelers, and the Steelers are good and they can put pressure, but it just didn't look all that great. Like, is there something to that? Is it just anecdotal that I'm just sort of finding things because it supports the Chiefs and playing their starters, which Andy Reid does?
There's only one way to get better at football, right? There's only one way. And you know what that way is? Playing football. That's the only way to get better at football, right? I mean, I don't know how many people get better at playing football by just sitting there and watching film or being on the sidelines, right? I mean, and I get it. There are perils to playing in the preseason. There's no two ways about that either, right? We saw guys go down with season-ending injuries, and we've seen significant season-ending injuries in the preseason that have altered the playoff picture. But, it's a risk that you have to consider, and the payoff is that your team might start really strong this year. And while I am a firm believer that, the real test of a team is how they look once we get Halloween, Thanksgiving area of the season, because teams do tend to get better over the course of time, the margin for error is different this year, right? I mean, how many teams yesterday from the AFC do you think, okay, we can already discount them? Not many. I'm sure there are a couple that inspired less confidence than others, but if the Chiefs or anybody starts, I was looking at the Titans as an example, who go to Buffalo this upcoming week and then play the Raiders. If the Titans fall to 0-3, which, I'm not trying to count them out before the games have even been played, but in a scenario in which that happens, can Tennessee dig their way out of an 0-3 hole and make the playoffs this year? And I just don't think you can afford to. So the month of September might matter more this year than it has in previous seasons. I certainly feel that way for the Chiefs because this changed a little bit last year, and we talked about it basically every day that we had the show. But a couple of years ago, it was like the Chiefs were playing with the AFC West was the JV, right? I mean, it was just, there were no quarterbacks and no defense or both on some of these rosters. Now it's not. I mean, Justin Herbert is a magician. Derek Carr, I thought, was okay, even if he wasn't perfect yesterday. And then we'll find out about the Broncos tonight. We certainly feel like these guys are going to be good.
Chiefs and Chargers Thursday night. Field Yates is our guest from ESPN, NFL Insider. There's a few injuries for the Chiefs. Trey Smith ankle, Harrison Butker ankle, which doesn't matter. They've got Justin Reed.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
By the way, in a day where teams were looking for a kicker to make a kick, the Chiefs had 2. They're like, throw somebody else out there with a kicker. But there's the injury there. Trent McDuffie left with a hamstring. That's something to be concerned with. But I doubt Keenan Allen plays on Thursday for the Chargers. So how good is this Chargers team? We'll find out a lot about both of these teams on Thursday night. But what do you think of the matchup here at Arrowhead Thursday night?
Yeah, I think it's one of the games of the year, which sounds ridiculous, right? When you're like, wait, game of the year in week 2? Maybe that's a little bit too strong of an assessment, but I can't wait for this, right? What a bang we have for the first Amazon primetime game on Thursday night. An incredible, incredible test. I mean, the Chargers actually, I thought, looked better defensively than offensively yesterday, which you may not have forecasted. But Justin Herbert, it's hard. Justin Herbert has not accomplished what Patrick Mahomes has in terms of wins that really matter yet. But statistically, he's been the best quarterback ever through the first 2 seasons of his career, and yesterday looked just like he has through much of the first 2 seasons. Surreal, sublime, incredible. So Thursday night has the makings of a game that has to be watched no matter who you root for. I can't wait to see it. I do have optimism that the Chiefs will take care of business at home, but this Chargers team is no joke, especially with the pass rush that looked really good yesterday, led by Khalil Mack, who had 3 sacks.
Yeah, they look really good, and that'll be the defensive test that the Chiefs will go up against now, which will be better than the Cardinals, so we'll really see what this offense is made of. It's early, but do you have an idea of maybe a gut instinct score in your mind with Thursday night, since it's such a short week?
Thinking 31-27 Chiefs.
31-27. All right. That seems right about where I'll probably have it as well. We'll see what happens. Field Yates, ESPN NFL Insider. Field, you're the man. Really appreciate the time as always, sir.
Talk to you again next week.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates from ESPN. He's our NFL Insider. And, the Chiefs dominant in the game against the Arizona Cardinals. 31-27 against the Chargers. And, the defense looked pretty damn good against the Raiders. The Chargers defense looked really good. Chiefs defense looked really good against the Arizona Cardinals as well. But certainly those Chargers defensive ends, that'll be much better and much more to deal with for the Chiefs than what the Cardinals offered. So we'll see how the offensive line holds up, but I'm pumped. I cannot wait for Thursday night already. It's like they just played yesterday. You're still enjoying it and reveling in the production that the offense put up and how fun it was to watch them do that. And then immediately it's like, all right, Thursday night. What happens Thursday night? Let's see what takes place against the Chargers because it's such a big one. Herbert was good. He was good, but you know what? There's no Keenan Allen. He hasn't been ruled out yet, but the way that he left the field, and then after the game when he was asked, is he going to play against the Chiefs, and he said possibly, he was then reminded it was on Thursday, and he said small possibly that he could play on Thursday. I don't think that's going to be the case. Trent McDuffie may not play as well, so we'll see, but it's going to be an absolute blast. And the kicking issue around the league was something to behold, and yet the Chiefs have a couple of them with Justin Reed. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we will hear from Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Eric Bieniemy on the other side of the break. We got Learn Funniest Best before the show is over as well. More Zone right after this at Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
The horn just blew. Can I, does that mean I'm done?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Nine 913-912-4810 is the text line. We'll hear from the coordinators. Thank you to Field Yates. Talking some Chiefs football, which apparently is a big deal to some out there. Talking about the Chiefs is a huge mistake on a Monday.
Oh no! I thought I saw your Twitter fingers working over there. Oh God!
It's just hilarious. It's just hilarious. I said that I put money on Deuce Vaughn for Heisman, and then this turd Russ. I'd love to see the non-existent betting ticket on Deuce for Heisman. Screenshot, reply, take the L. Have a seat. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing. Good day, sir. No.
Hey, $30 too. I would have taken the under on that. You really put $30 out there.
I said that's what I was gonna do.
I didn't remember. I don't know if you gave the number. I knew you threw a couple of shiny doubloons on the Deuce Vaughn Heisman odds, and they're good odds. I like the bet. Yeah. I didn't know what the wager was.
I will be honest. I got in there late. I wanted to put money at plus 15,000, but I didn't place the bet until Labor Day, so it was last Monday.
What was it originally?
15,000. Yeah, I'm pretty pissed. Yeah.
Look, if he wins it, look. Here's the thing. I had this thought yesterday.
My 30 could be 4,000 instead of like 20 something or 2,000 something would be great. But I'm like, well, if I just, oh darn it, I missed it at 15,000. I'm not going to put money on it now at 7,000. Juice ain't worth the squeeze now for only $2,500 on a $30 ticket. Not going to do it.
After the game, really during the game yesterday, I had the thought of like, man, there were a couple other places where I felt like it was free money, but I had already really kind of stretched myself pretty thin across, not in a dangerous, but not in a financial way. Just like I had a lot of stuff in a lot of pots yesterday, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I just at some point decided, you know what? If Patrick Mahomes throws for whatever 5 touchdowns in a basically perfect game, and I don't get every nickel from it, I can live with it because if he gets hurt in the first quarter, I might not be here, on Monday. I might have to go just go on the run. Sometimes you got to be okay taking a really big dub instead of trying to push for the jackpot every time. If Deuce Vaughn wins the Heisman, I don't think you should shed any tears. I think that $2,000 would spend just nice.
Oh, I would love for him to win the Heisman.
Just nice
because it's a local guy winning the Heisman. That'd be amazing.
But also, I mean, look, I would take anyone to win the Heisman if I got $2,000.
Yeah, I would appreciate the 2,000 as well. I placed not nearly as much money on Lamar Jackson in the summer when he was plus 1,000 in the year that he won the Heisman. Not nearly enough money did I place on that. So it wasn't plus 7,000. It wasn't that.
No, but 1,000's a good. That's 10-1 for the newbies out there.
Yeah, right. Which is
7,070 to 1.
Yeah, but like $10 isn't as cool as $100 if I'd have put that on Lamar that summer. And I was told I was throwing my money away then.
See, that's the thing.
I was like, you know what? I'll take the Deshaun Watson was like the leading vote getter or was the betting favorite, I think it was. And I'm like, the betting favorite never wins the Heisman. It just doesn't happen. I shouldn't say never. The betting favorite ending the season rarely wins the Heisman. So if I'm going to look around and say, like, who's going to have a big season, and if K-State is playing in the Big 12 championship game, Deuce Vaughn's going to have the numbers to be looked at least. And September 24th is a big day.
Also, I know it is tough. I'm sorry, I cut you off mid-bit there.
You're good.
But running backs, it's hard to win a Heisman as a running back. Not as hard to win an MVP at the NFL level, certainly, but it's tough. The good news is by the end of the year, Deuce Vaughn might be the quarterback also. Just running the true Wildcat, the Wildcat.
That's exactly right. No, September 24th is huge. In Norman, against Oklahoma. If K-State goes there and wins, and Deuce has a big game, you can officially announce the Heisman campaign on. And I think K-State's athletic department will spend money to get that Heisman campaign rolling. Because it matters. The Deuce is loose. I mean, I don't know. I mean, 22 for Heisman 22. Like, I mean, there's some ways you can go with this. Again, in a couple of weeks, if he has a big game, even if it's a close loss, if Deuce Vaughn is the reason that it's close or something like that, then you start to get the national attention that he should be deserving already of, but it's difficult in Manhattan or Lawrence or Columbia or anywhere around here with the national, because it's not, the bigger schools in the SEC or Ohio State or now USC with, I shouldn't say now, just USC in general when they have a stud player. But so I think that's a huge day for him, and obviously for the Big 12 there in Norman. So, yeah, I am rooting. My wallet, my bank account is rooting for Deuce Vaughn. So, by the way, watching him run all over Mizzou in a game where I already thought they were going to lose by a bunch of points, I had no problem with that.
Little silver lining for you.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
I bet the national campaign for his Heisman as the year progresses, I bet they don't throw all their weight behind the Deuce is loose. I bet they let that one be one of the grassroots campaigns. I bet there's not a whole lot of
Sorry, I wasn't thinking like that.
I wasn't either until you said it, and I thought it sat for a second. You know what? I bet K-State's not going to highlight the sort of OJ slogan spin-off.
I don't know about you, but my mind doesn't work like that, all right? I'm a junior, not a sophomore, all right? Steve Spagnuolo apparently is ready to go.
The Deuce is loose is tough. The Deuce is loose is tough on a couple levels.
I mean, sometimes it can be tough.
What would those be, Josh?
The O.J. Simpson and poop. Just in case you didn't pick up on the subtext, Beards. It's not like you missed it. I'd hate for you to miss a subtle joke. And then a loose Deuce sounds sort of like, you get it.
Steve Spagnuolo gave a quick report on how the rookies made it through week one.
Yeah, again, now I zipped through the film on the plane, to be quite honest with everybody, and then moved on to the Chargers. But and I was looking things more as a unit and a group and how we function. But Brian Cook stuck out. A couple of things that he did. He made some tackles. Certainly Jalen going in and Josh having to go in a little bit. I thought they all did a nice job. George was solid. He came right up to me after and said, gave me the 2 or 3 things that he did wrong, which is George. He's always gonna try to get better, but I thought he helped us a little bit. Who would I have been missing? Leo got in there and got a couple of snaps in our base defense, and then some at the end when we got ahead. I think more than anything, it was just good that they got first game jitters out of their system. They got a couple of reps, under their belt, and hopefully that'll help us in a quick turnaround to playing on Thursday.
Coach, just overall, your thoughts on the pass rush. I know you guys overhauled a number of different things, and as well as just the general pass rush. But I know Chris didn't get a sack, but just the kind of the disruptive force that he was in general as well.
Yeah, there's some hidden production there from Chris Seren. Obviously he tipped that one, which was huge. And there's a couple others in there where you see him, pressure the middle of the pocket, and, Kyler Murray had to move around, and that helps us. It extends down, the guys extend their coverage, et cetera. So I thought Chris played really solid. He had the fumble. We couldn't come up with it. And then overall, as a pass rush, I thought the guys were relentless in their pass rush. I thought Carlos Dunlap got his sack because he just kept rushing the passer. And we preach about that all the time. Pass rushers keep rushing the passer. And if your coverage is good on the back end, you can find a way to get the quarterback on the ground. Now, the guy we just went against, he's pretty slippery. So it didn't show up in the stat column with stacks and all that. But to get him to run around and off timing wise, I think was a good thing for us.
I thought Chris Jones was really disruptive yesterday. I know we had the caller in the first hour that said that Chris Jones is paid to get sacks and tired of seeing Chris Jones not get sacks. No playoff sacks. Didn't get a sack yesterday. Didn't get Kyler Murray down when he was there. And Kyler Murray goes up right around to Chris Jones' knees. So when he was rushing in there, he went underneath him and picked up some yards. They ended up punting on after getting stopped on the next play. But still, he was really disruptive yesterday. He was in the backfield. He was in the backfield on passing plays. He was in the backfield on running plays. He had the pass knocked down as well, which he typically gets his big paw up there, as you heard Tony Romo talk about. I know the thought of he gets paid to sack the quarterback. He gets paid to be disruptive. He gets paid to be a really good defensive player, and he was the best defensive player on the field yesterday. He may not have had the stats of L'Jarius Sneed, who had the pass defense to sack and 8 tackles. Chris Jones had the pass defense and 1 tackle.
Yeah.
But he was really, really good.
In a lot of ways, boy, my phlegm has just been a problem. In a lot of ways,
it's just as much of a problem as Chris Jones was for the Cardinals.
It certainly was disruptive for what I was trying to say. In a lot of ways, sacks are a bit of a team stat. And that's something that not always, right? You can't have somebody who just has a dominant win and consumes the quarterback and nobody else on the line does anything about it. Fair enough. But Chris Jones, particularly on the pressure where Kyler Murray ducked under his arm, he split a double team.
Yeah.
He split a double team and then was suddenly a mountain in the middle of Kyler Murray's vision. Now, look, of course, you'd like for him to get that sack. You know what else I would have loved? For Frank Clark to be in a position to clean up the mess, to flush. If Chris Jones is creating pressure up the middle, Kyler Murray most of the time. Now in that instance, he did go up in, and I don't remember who the other defensive tackle on that rep was. But if they win that rep, it's a sack. Chris Jones did his job there, or at least 90% of what you could ever ask him to do. If you create pressure up the middle and you're going up against a quarterback like Kyler Murray, he is going to try to escape outside. If his tackles are beating your edges, he's going to have room to escape and to try to make something happen. Ultimately, he was disrupted frequently and punished the Chiefs for his escapism there very infrequently. I'll take that. Even though it wasn't a dominant performance by the pass rush, it's one I'm happy with.
The only thing that Chris Jones could have done differently on that play is as soon as he split the double team and was going after Kyler Murray, to maybe slow down and break down so that he can't go underneath him.
Right.
But he's 6'6", 310.
Trying to bust through 600 pounds of dude in front of him.
He just busted through a double team and took 2 steps full speed to get after Kyler Murray. At that point, you tip your cap at Kyler Murray for being able to do that, because a lot of quarterbacks would just go and sort of roll to the right or the left, holding the football and bracing for impact with Chris Jones hitting them, in the backside. Instead, Kyler Murray was like, let me just go underneath this real quick. Let me go through his legs here.
You don't stop an Avengers movie whenever the Hulk runs through a whole bunch of those little aliens invading New York and then also steps on a car. You're like, hey, your job's to protect the city and not step on any cars. It's like, well, look, man, I mean, he's the Hulk. He just stepped on 8 aliens, and yes, your Subaru has a dent in it now, and I'm sure there'll be a way you can claim that on your insurance. But it's hard to be the Hulk.
Anybody else, when they watch those movies, think to themselves, how many innocent casualties happen with all that destruction around and buildings being blown up? But nobody actually mentions that. It's like, oh, don't worry, everybody survived because all these different things just missed and they saved the day.
I think that was literally part of the Batman versus Superman movie that nobody watched.
We're on the same page.
After the Superman movie, where there was the entire city got destroyed, and then the Batman versus Superman movie was Batman going, he destroyed an entire city, and then they both realized their moms had the same name and they all made up, but nobody saw the movie.
Yeah, but he destroyed the city, but luckily everybody got out.
What I was going to say is that in a Marvel movie, the city has been perfectly evacuated. In a DC movie, everyone has died. They left a tragic backstory. Their family misses them very much. But that's sort of a Marvel DC thing.
And in Disney, the parents always die.
That's right. It's just the parents, and then everything else works out.
You got to kill off the parents.
Got to kill the parents in Disney movies.
No matter what. It's like, well, Let's watch this new Disney movie. Let's see how the parent dies in this one. It was Scar again. Damn it.
It was Scar again.
Every time. Steve Spagnuolo, who was talking with the media, weighs in and talks about Justin Herbert. And one of the biggest challenges they'll face at quarterback this year is Justin Herbert.
I have him and have had him since he got in the league as one of the top guys. He just gets better and better. And it's a different quarterback challenge, right, Todd? It's not the smaller, quick. Now, this guy can be elusive, but he's got the whole package, in my opinion. From the chin to the hairline, he's really smart. That's why they do a lot of things with him. He's big and can throw over people. He really takes a hit because he gets rid of the ball. He gets them in and out of bad plays and into good plays. So what you're doing on the back end as far as disguises is really important. And I think with the weapons he has, and I know, there's a possibility he might be down with one of his weapons, but I think he utilizes them all really well. He spreads the ball over the field, and that's what makes it a challenge to defend these guys.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on just like football today, right? I mean, the Cardinals went for several fourth downs. We know what the Chargers have done, going outside the box. Have you guys gotten kind of in that rhythm now to know that you don't just, put your hand up and walk up the field after you get a third down stop? You got to be ready for anything.
Yeah, well, that's the truth. And Mike Frazier, who does a lot of statistics for us here, before this last game, I want to make sure I get this right. I think he said in the last 3 years, we have faced the second most fourth downs. There's something like that. It's been a lot of them. And that's because of the way the league's going, number one, right, Todd? And I also think it's a little bit of part of our offense and the threats that we have, and they don't want to give the ball back to our offense. So we have talked about it extensively throughout training camp and in the offseason here. We'll talk about it every week. We actually begin with fourth down early in the week for that reason, and then try to get a couple of reps in practice. But yeah, we're going to see them always because of who we are and because the league is going that way. And certainly this particular head coach loves to go on for it on fourth down.
That makes sense that they would face the second most. I'd love to know who the first is. What team has faced over the last couple of years has faced the most fourth down attempts? It'd be really interesting to see which team that is. Because I would have guessed the Chiefs would have been number one. You said which team has faced the most fourth down attempts? I would guess it's the Chiefs.
I would try and figure out who does the most fourth attempts and look at one of their division opponents would be my kind of guess, my thinking on that.
But that divisional opponent would also have to be really good offensively to force, and really good just in general, to force other teams to have to go for it on fourth down when they feel like it's late in the contest, or even early if you feel like, this is a chance to
I don't even know how to begin finding these stats.
Yeah, I don't either.
This is a kind of a rare one. I think I missed if Spags gave a reference point there, but I wonder if that's an internal thing that they have. Because I don't. There's certainly not like an obvious, easy way to calculate that. So that is very interesting.
I'm looking at the fourth down conversions for the Cardinals because they went 3 of 4 in the game, and they were 0 for 1 when they were down 37-7. So down 37-7, they ended up going 3 for 3 on fourth down conversions after that. So, sure. Gladly surrender. If you're the Chiefs defense, gladly surrender some fourth down conversions when they're playing more desperation and they're down by 30 at the start of the fourth quarter rather than before halftime on fourth down and 2. When the Chiefs got the stop, got the ball back, and put 3 points on the board. That's a 6-point swing. In a game that ended up being 23-7 at half, 20-10, as opposed to 23-7, a 6-point swing is pretty big. But down 37-7, 4th and 2, Kyler Murray found Greg Dortch for 14 yards. That's the play that Willie Gay got injured on. And then 4th and 6 is when he found Hollywood for the touchdown. And then later in the game, on their final possession, 4th and 3, Trace McSorley found Andy Isabella for 10 yards. And the next play was the Turk Wharton sack to end the game. So there's your 3 for 4.
There it
Sometimes stats can be misleading,
They
right?
believe it or not, numbers sometimes can lie.
Yeah. Because you look at it and go, wow, I mean, the Chiefs. Because keep that in mind if you look, later on in the season, and it's like, boy, the Chiefs are giving up 70% on fourth down conversions. Well, 3 for 3 fourth down conversions didn't matter. You'd like them to get off the field, but they're up by 30 points in the fourth quarter. And certainly they were trying to get a stop on 4th and goal from the 6. And Hollywood Brown caught the touchdown. Certainly they weren't just out there going, we'll see what happens. Doesn't matter. They catch a touchdown. Who cares? Yeah, they would have liked to get the stop there and get off the field. But when you're up 37-7 and they go 3 for 3 on fourth downs, it's not nearly as impactful as when you're up 20-7 and they're driving on your side of the field and it's 4th and 2 and you get a stop. So just something to keep in mind when, we may talk about those later on, that I count the Cardinals as 0 for 1 in fourth down. In my personal record book, they're 0 for 1 in fourth down conversions. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Eric Bieniemy and Dave Tobe next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Here we are standing today. Excuse my language. We're a couple of days away from kickoff. Man, that slipped.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
How much of that were the mics on for? Just a little bit?
I heard none of it. I heard there was something, but I didn't hear what it was.
No, I didn't curse or anything. I thought that our mics were still down. We were still chatting.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a curse word at all. I was just generally curious because we were chatting about something that has nothing to do with sports. Well, it had something to do with sports. It was a quote from. Was it Bomani?
I can hit you with it again. There's a
no,
quote.
It was off the air.
All right,
it stays off the air.
Okay.
What happens off the air
Bomani Jones
is
tweeted,
also
Beards
content.
McFly is the worst. And I just thought that was great, so I turned on the wallpaper.
That's right. Excuse me. I'm just enjoying what the Chiefs did yesterday. Eric Bieniemy also enjoying that, says that they expected the Cardinals to blitz yesterday like they did.
No, not surprised. We've known that to be, one of the things that they're planned on doing. Obviously, we saw a lot of it on film, but I thought our guys did a heck of a job of handling the situation. Our guys remained poised under pressure. Pat did a great job of just managing and just processing the information. And our guys just played, and they did a great job of handling it and went out and executed.
Hey, appreciate the time here, Eric. I got a question about your rookie running back. What would you evaluate about his first game in the league? Saw 12 carries. Obviously, you guys wanted to see something from him there.
More than anything, I thought he did a good job of just playing hard. I thought he was on point with his footwork, his aiming points. But there's also a few things that we need to just continue working on, But one thing I'll share with each and every rookie for the first time is anybody can do anything once. It's all about making sure that you can put consistent behavior on tape week in and week out. So the biggest thing now is just making sure that he gets in the building, he takes care of his body and understand how to get ready for a Thursday night game. And that's just mentally understanding that he has to take work home. He has to physically take care of his body. And that's just not for him. It's for all of our young guys. And just making sure that he'll be physically ready and mentally ready, for this next opponent.
Hey, Coach, speaking of Isaiah, it looked like after his touchdown, Patrick went down and got the football for him. And I'm just wondering, as a former player, for the star quarterback to have the wherewithal to go get the football for the rookie running back so he doesn't lose it, how important was that? And what's that say about Patrick?
That just goes to show you, first of all, Patrick is always looking out for everybody. He's the ultimate team player. So for Pat to have the wherewithal of, hey, you know what? I got to get this ball for this kid. This is his first touchdown. It just goes to show you where his head is because he's always thinking about others. So, but it doesn't shock nor surprise me. But I'm glad that he did do it. That way now Isaiah will have a memory for the rest of his life.
I made a note of that, and we never got around to it. And I made a note, and I was like, I don't know how much I actually talk about this or even do, because it continues to come off as like, Pollyanna and like, oh, he's the perfect quarterback. He was made in a lab. But Pacheco scores, he throws the football. Everybody's celebrating with him. They turn, they start walking to the sideline together, and Mahomes goes and gets the football. So, I noted it, but I'm like, I don't even know how much to talk about it, because then it just feels like, okay, good night, man. I mean, how much are you going to... The guy did enough on the field. You don't have to then go love him up for that, too. But I thought it was interesting that he's the guy that went and got the football to give to Pacheco when everybody else was celebrating, and Pacheco wasn't even thinking about, I'm going to hold on to this football. Mahomes was like, no, I got it for you. You go celebrate. I'll get the football.
Field general, incredible game awareness in and out of the actual confines of the play. I think that's fun. I also think I have found a place to criticize the offensive coordinator in a game where they scored 44 points. I finally found one. Eric Bieniemy said they were expecting to get blitzed that much? That's ridiculous. Why were they prepared for that? They shouldn't have been. That should have been shocking. I can't believe they actually thought the Cardinals might blitz. More than half of the time, they blitzed 54% of Patrick Mahomes' dropbacks. That is a career high for Patrick Mahomes. More than half the time, they brought blitzers against a quarterback who eats blitzers alive. That is a horrible mistake by Eric Bieniemy and the Chiefs. They were right, of course. They were correct. But I can't believe they were prepared for that because I sure wouldn't have been. That was a crazy strategy, and somehow the Chiefs were prepared for it.
I don't get it. I don't
either.
As I said to Field, I thought blitzing Mahomes was dead. I thought that strategy was dead, gone, and buried.
The Cardinals wouldn't let it die, and apparently the Chiefs really thought that might be coming.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Or it's Eric Bieniemy like, well, no, we weren't planning for that. Or even it's like, no, we thought that's what they would do.
Yeah.
Because it's what they do. Like, how do you say that without throwing Vance Joseph under the bus? Because if it would have been like, no, we weren't preparing that because why would you do that? But I'm glad they did because it's absurd to blitz Patrick Mahomes.
We thought they might be dumb, and after further review, they were dumb, and so we were prepared for them to be dumb. And they made them look dumb.
We didn't expect them to be that dumb. We thought there was some dumbness. They were going to dummery it up.
They put some consistent dumb behavior on tape, and we thought we'd capitalize on that.
Yeah, it was dumbassery that took place, and we were surprised.
I will never be a head coach for some reason.
It's a hell of a dumb. They are heck of a dumb defense.
They dragged their ass back over the start line. That was weird.
I'll say this. At the end of the day, they were dumb.
It was dumb stuff.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, 913-381-0810.
I call him Singy McSinger face.
Do you play album thing? Let's go to Ben.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Album McVinyl player. Crash and burn. Eject! Eject, Goose! Hit the eject button, Goose! Not happening. All right, we'll hear from Dave Tobe here in just a little bit. Eric Bieniemy at the podium talking about his running backs, his offense, the blitz from Vance Joseph, things like that, but also weighed in on what he saw from Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I thought Clyde did a heck of a job of starting the game off. I thought our entire offense came off firing on all cylinders. Those guys came out fast. They came out with some energy, some excitement. They just created a presence that, hey, we're going to stay on the attack. And I love what we were bringing to the table. And I thought the run game was going. I thought Clyde did some great things in the pass game, just like the rest of the backs. I thought Jarek did some great things. Isaiah, obviously, Burton stepping in and doing his stuff. But the thing about it, it was a great team victory because you know why? The thing about it, we remained accountable to one another. How do we remain accountable to one another? We play hard, we play fast, and we have a sense of urgency and a sense of purpose in everything that we do. And that's why we came away with that victory. Now, as much as it was a good win for us, yeah, it was shortly celebrated. We were thinking about the next opponent as soon as the clock hit the final buzzer. So it's time to move on and it's time to think about them Chargers now.
Eric, I was actually just about to ask you about the Chargers defense. What's the differences you see between last year and this year with them? Because I know, and how much did you kind of install some game plan before this game, knowing that you start the season with two games in essentially 5 days?
We've been preparing for this game for a long time. Obviously, we've had the entire offseason to think about this. We've had all training camp, and then we had those additional practices between training camp leading up after that last preseason game leading up to the first game. So we've been watching them. We've been preparing for them. So one thing I will say, I hate to say this, but I guess I got to welcome Mr. Khalil Mack back to the AFC West. I really don't like saying that and inviting him back, but he's a heck of a player. That defense, they're playing some good ball. Obviously, Mr. Bosa's out there. You know, they got some guys now that have been in that defense in the system now for a couple of years. These guys are going to play hard. They put on a good performance yesterday or last night against the Chargers. Against the Raiders. So we're not expecting anything different. These guys are going to come out and give us our best, and we just need to make sure that we're on top of our game when it's all said and done with.
Let me just say, if Khalil Mack is disruptive to the point of being the difference in that game Thursday, Ryan Poles is going to get a harshly worded letter from me. I mean, I am not going to hold back on how harsh some of those words are going to be for that traitor. Like, literally. Trading Khalil Mack.
Trader with
Trader,
a D, yeah.
Trader, with him to the AFC West. But yeah, it obviously is a huge difference maker with those two guys on the edge, Khalil Mack and Bosa.
Trader Joe's, but just Trader
Poles.
Khalil's, or yeah, Trader Poles is better.
Trader Max, Trader Poles, Trader Ryan. I don't know.
It's going to be really interesting because, as we talked about a few times, like the tackles I thought held up pretty well in that game. Also, there was a decent amount of times where Mahomes was not disrupted, to stick with that word of the day. Where he wasn't disrupted, but he would kind of just float to a place that there was even less disruption. And I wish we had we could bring this up with Nick today. Maybe we'll talk to him about it on Wednesday. Because he early on was apparently more locked in on Orlando Brown than we were, because we have our little group text, and he was keeping an eye on 57 over there. And frankly, I had not noticed Orlando Brown make like a mistake or whatever.
I hadn't either.
And what I noticed was that Patrick Mahomes was drifting left, especially early, a lot. And that to me speaks to confidence in the left side of your offensive line, maybe even more so than the right side. Your right-handed quarterback, even Mahomes would probably rather go to his right than go left. I think.
But it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter, but I would think that he would do that naturally.
Because we've seen, like, that Sky Moore throw, we saw that in the first year, him starting in Seattle,
Yeah, no,
the
it's
throw
nuts.
he made to Sharkhandrick West against the Seahawks on the road is still one of the most impressive throws I've ever seen in my life, because that was almost underhand, throwing to his right while running to his left, and that was like 20 yards down the field that hit West on a dime for, I think, a touchdown.
Was
or
that
inside the 5-yard line or something?
Was that one along the sideline, or was that there are so
He
many
was running
of
to
these.
he was running to his left. They were going right to left. So they were going left towards the end zone, and he rolled to his left and then, gets his shoulders back, parallel to the line of scrimmage, throws it underhand, like underneath an arm, and then hits West like 20 yards down the field. And then they showed it from the end zone angle, and it was like unbelievable.
Yeah,
and
how was that?
my buddy texted me, who's not a Chiefs fan. He's a Bucks fan, actually, so to hell with him. This was before they got Brady. This was when Brady was still with the Patriots.
Friend? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Former friend
Texted me and said, dude, I swear he's the best thrower of the football I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And that throw still sticks out to me against Seattle, but it has become commonplace that we see that from him doing that. But it's an interesting observation about where he might have been floating in the game, if it was towards Orlando Brown or the other way. But like, there were plenty of plays where he just stayed in the pocket.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
just delivered the football, fired it on time, accurately, did that, trusted what was around him, things like that.
And both of the tackles coming up this week, with Orlando Brown being kind of a guy that is very much in a contract year in a very, very immediate sense of the word. And then Andrew Wiley, who, once again, I think every time I mention Andrew Wiley, I'm going to point out that I think he has been underrated by this fan base on account of not being a major addition at any point. The way that a player is acquired often really informs how the player is viewed through the eyes of the fans. So you get a blockbuster trade, blockbuster free agent acquisition, second-round draft pick, steal late in the draft, and then just Andrew Wiley, who was here already. You know?
Right.
I think he gets underrated because of that. But Patrick Mahomes is going to be significantly tested this week because of both of those tackles will be tested this week. And frankly, even if they can just die a slow death, if the interior can hold up, Mahomes can step up and stand and deliver. But that means a big test now for Joe Thuney, who's ready for it, for Creed Humphrey, who's ready for it, and either Trey Smith or Nick Allegretti. It seemed like Smith maybe could have come back in, but Allegretti finished the game whenever Trey Smith left the game with his injury.
Yeah, and it'll also be interesting to see if J.C. Jackson plays.
Yeah,
because there's at least a chance.
Yes,
I think there's a better chance J.C. Jackson plays than Keenan Allen.
That is also my impression.
I don't think Keenan Allen's playing, but J.C. Jackson, he went through pregame warmups against the Raiders yesterday. So does that mean that, hey, a couple more days he would have been ready to play? Does that mean he's going through pregame warmups, so if the game against the Chiefs were played on Sunday next week, he'd be good to go, but an early week, maybe a cautionary, keep him out for one more week? We'll find out. Eric Bieniemy weighed in and said that he knows that Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack will be a major factor in the game on Thursday.
Well, first and foremost, both those guys do a great job of getting after the quarterback. They also do a hell of a job of playing the run. So one thing we got to do, we got to make sure that we're protecting our quarterback and keeping him upright. So obviously, there's no secret. We got to take care of the edges. So we got to do a great job of chipping and making sure that those guys aren't having an impact on the game plan. But, there's a number of other guys out there that are doing a hell of a job that we got to be accountable for. They got some second-level guys in that back end that are playing some good ball. Obviously, Mr. Derwin James is out there. We know exactly what he can bring to the table and all the things that he can do. So it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited about this game because, first of all, it's a short week. So there's really not a lot of stuff that we can create to say, hey, we're going to go and do this and just say we're going to be exceptional at it. Now, this is one of those games you got to ball up your knuckles. Hey, we're going out there, putting our hand in the dirt and may the best team win.
And then the other one, the cameras caught, I don't know if, on your coach's tape, if you saw this, if you get any of the TV, but they caught Patrick Mahomes holding up 4 fingers when he had 4 touchdowns and saying 4. And it was kind of like we know you probably named a lot of fantasy football teams when you dubbed him a couple of years ago a competitive prick. I know you named some teams in my fantasy leagues with that phrasing of him, but is it go even beyond that? Like, we've likened him, I think, in conversations to Michael Jordan, that he finds something where he's disrespecting himself. Right? Jordan would find those things. Is Patrick like that as well, or was there some jawing going on that maybe we didn't see that he was barking back at some guys with that?
That's just Pat. That's just who he is. And just kind of what you said, there's always that behind the scenes deal where he's going to create a moment that's going to keep him fired up and energized about each and every opportunity that there is to put something great on tape. So regardless of what that is, I'm glad that he's on our side. Okay. And the kid is a tremendous football player. I love the energy and the excitement that he brings. And on top of that, he's the ultimate competitor, and just looking forward to watching him do work from here on out.
We all are. We all are. And, wow, it is. We're all watching that, man. Looking forward to it. But I think there was some jawing. That was. It looked like he was like his facial expression was just like 4 touchdowns, dude. 4.
I didn't see an angle of this myself, so I don't know if it was on the broadcast feed or if it was someone who was in person who tweeted about it. I can't remember. But it was something about on that touchdown pass that he got clobbered between a couple of Cardinals, like relatively late in the transaction there, and then popped up with, "Yeah, hit me again. I got 4 already. I got 4. There might be a little thumb on this one here shortly."
And I also wonder,
I
like,
love it, man. I eat it up.
Yeah, I would like to see, like, I don't know if they'll, when they come up with the all 22 or anything, if the camera stays on there a little bit longer, like, was there chirping from a Cardinals player to him when they were laying on top of him after they hit him? Because that was the Jody Fortson touchdown when he was fading back and stalling and trying to, wait, hold, like he's William Wallace, hold, and then throwing it to Fortson, and as he's releasing it, he's getting crunched.
Yep.
And so I wonder if when he's on the ground, somebody, says something to him and he gets up and jaws back. Dude, I've got 4 touchdowns. What are you doing? What are you talking about, dude? 4 touchdowns, man. 4. It's going to be 5.
It's about to be 5.
And, man, I really thought when they handed off to Pacheco, they were going to throw number 6. I really thought he was going to get number 6.
They could have absolutely done one of the little fun little dink and dunk kind of plays, a little trick play down there.
But, I mean, every one of his touchdowns was that. Every one of his touchdowns was goal-to-go situation.
Yeah, it's
1, a 4, a 2, a 9, and a 6.
Which I think is proof enough that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and all those guys are a little petty.
Yeah, they're aware.
And aware is probably also a good word for that. They are aware of where some of that stuff comes from, and also aware of the fact that just like, hey, you know what's good? Let your quarterback throw touchdowns. Yeah. He threw 2 of them to Clyde. It's not like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is like, well, I got us down there, and then I didn't get the goal line touches. Nah, man, you're there too. Like, it is a beautiful thing to watch that offense hum like it was yesterday.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't find it this morning. Ran out of time. But I was looking for the touchdown passes, inside 5 yards, inside 10 yards. We had that conversation of like how many he had in 2018 of his 50 that were goal-to-go situations that were inside 5 yards. And he had a really good amount of his 50 that were like 2-yard touchdown pass, 3-yard touchdown pass, 1-yard touchdown pass that he got to 50. And I thought about after the game when I see his 5 touchdown passes of 9, 3, 4, 1, and 2. Those are his 5 touchdown passes. And it's like, there's some 2018 to it when they were like, you know what? We're just simply Mahomes. We're throwing touchdowns, man.
Yep.
We can hand off. Pacheco did that. So I really thought they were going to get one more for him to get 6. To have 364, whatever, add the 4 or 5. What was Pacheco's run? Was a 3-yard run?
I was going to guess too, yeah.
So 363 and 6 touchdowns he could have had and been 31 of 40 if he would have completed that pass and thrown for a touchdown. I thought that was going to be the case. But you know what? Give the rookie some shine and get a touchdown. That's fine. But
and Pacheco really did get him down there. That was the Isaiah Pacheco drive.
That.
Like that.
You're right about
if
that.
If you wanted to throw him the ball, I wouldn't have been mad about it. It would have been okay with me personally.
Yeah, that's a good point. You threw 2 to Clyde. Clyde's 2 touchdowns were through the air, which is great because then, PPR league, I'll take that over handoff touchdowns. That's great. By the way, a tweet came in from Chad Campbell. Said, and this is interesting, said, I can't recall where I saw it, but there may have been some method to the madness of Joseph's blitzing Mahomes. His average yards in the game on blitzed downs was half that of non-blitzed downs, something like 6 yards to 12 yards. Kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. That's interesting to add context if that's the case, if Vance Joseph is going, we're not blitzing and he's just tearing us apart. Maybe if we try to get there and put some pressure on him and have a protection breakdown or something, then we can get this team off the field. it's also being pointed out that, Mahomes on those blitzes, he had 4 touchdown passes. We also just talked about that, like they're blitzing at the 1-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a
it's
blitz?
goal line
Is it a blitz
situation,
from
is
the
it a blitz?
2-yard line?
Fair, that's a fair point.
Is it a blitz from the 3-yard line, from the 9-yard line, things like that? Like if it was a blitz and he threw 4 touchdowns, one of 25 yards, one of 30 yards, one of 40, and one of 18. I think it'd be a little different than he threw 4 touchdowns against the blitz, all within 3 yards of the end zone.
Let me tell you what I like about that stat, that exploration there. It helps on the narrative of, just drop 8. Just drop 8. Mahomes will get confused. He'll be like a squirrel. He'll get confused. He'll run away. He'll just go burrow down into a hole. He'll go Joe Burrow into a hole.
Which is what he put his team in with his 5 turnovers.
That's exactly right. Dropping 8 and rushing 3 is not a cheat code to deprogram Patrick Mahomes and then leave a husk of a quarterback there. It is your only chance to get an edge on Patrick Mahomes if and only if you are also getting pressure with your 3 or more realistically 4. If you can pressure Patrick Mahomes with 4 and you have 7 in coverage, you have a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be disruptive. It doesn't really matter, I guess, if you blitz or not. You have to get home without adding pressure. That was the playbook for Tom Brady, right? Well, if you can pressure him with 4, good luck. He won a lot of Super Bowls forcing you to pressure him with 4.
Mm-hmm.
That, I think, is the takeaway from they blitzed and he ate them alive. You don't blitz, he'll eat you alive. You got to get there with 4, which is why the Chargers are a brilliant foil for this team. If there is a team that has the tools to really, really test the Chiefs, it is exactly the LA Chargers, which I think is fun. If you're a Chiefs fan that just wants an undefeated season and a number 1 seed, I get it. But they got to play the Chargers twice anyway. They're on the schedule 2 times. And I'm looking forward to those games very much because it's going to be a great litmus test for what exactly the Chiefs can do when you have the edge rushers to bring the heat.
Yep, cannot wait. Cannot wait. And to see what Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid are going to do knowing that those edge rushers can get there. So does the game plan change?
Good point. They're aware of this fact.
Yeah, and if that stat is true that in non-blitz downs he's averaging 12 yards per play, then again, like you said, that flies in the face of if you just play the cover 2, the shell, and don't blitz them, that's how you're going to get them off the field. Well, no. That just means it's less plays to get down there because they're averaging 12 yards, at least against the Cardinals specifically.
Yep.
In what they were able to do. So, and by the way, some of those blitzes resulted in Mahomes having to move around and escape the pocket. And I do wonder if that's part of why he's good against the blitz. Is if he sees it and says, well, here's where the blitz is coming from. If I escape over here, well, now I got the whole field in front of me, and we're having some fun, and I'm going to find a receiver. And it's like, well, good luck then at that point because, then he turns into the Magic Man, Showtime, whatever you want to call it.
I just smiled because I had the realization that I was thinking, like, man, that pass rush just didn't have any of the juice they needed yesterday. Obviously, J.J. Watt was out. I was thinking, oh, boy, they really could have used Chandler Jones. He's in the bleeping division now. Gosh dang it. You avoid him in the opener. You're going to see him twice now.
Don't worry.
Because he's a Raider.
You won't see him once. You'll see him twice now. Yes. I put this together this morning, so I at least want to use it.
I feel that, man. I don't know what it's going to be, but I feel that in my soul.
I spent way too much time on this morning. In fact, most of my prep work I did so much stuff yesterday, but most of my prep work this morning was putting this together because I was just curious, in the distributing of the football. So Mahomes threw to 10 different targets and had 9 different players catch a football. But besides that, what I thought was interesting and stood out was that 5 different receivers had 4 or more targets, and 6 different receivers had 3 or more receptions. Because there are games where it's like, wow, he targeted 9 guys. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, and then 5 other guys that got 1 target.
Right.
That's different than you've got 5 guys that have 4 or more targets and 6 players with 3 or more receptions. So then I'm like curious, okay, what about last year? Like, what did that look like last year? How many of those games did the Chiefs have in their 20 that they played last year? 10 plus targets or players, 10 or more players to get targeted in a game last year. There were 4 games in which Mahomes targeted 10 players last year. 4 of the 20, he targeted 10 players. He's 1 for 1 this year, but for the 20. 4 or more targets to have at least 5 receivers have 4 or more targets. That happened 5 times total. So 5 out of 20 games, he found 5 receivers that he threw to at least 4 different times. 5 players. Running backs, everything. Games in which he had 9 different players with a reception. 7 of the 20 last year, which is pretty good.
That's higher than I would have expected. Yeah.
I was surprised by that.
Me too.
But games in which he had players with 3 or more receptions that equaled the 6 that the Chiefs had yesterday, 3. 3 of the 20 games last year had 6 receivers with at least 3 receptions, 6 players. That's what they had yesterday alone. And then to put into context as well, they had no player have double-digit targets. Although I get it, if they didn't already have 44 on the board,
sure.
And if they had to, but they didn't went down and drove and scored a touchdown the last drive they were in. But one more drive, whatever. So it may have been different. 0 players with double-digit targets in this game. 14 of the 20 games had a player with double-digit targets last year. So most of the games, he was finding Tyreek or Travis Kelce. In fact, they had 5 games last year with 2 different players that had double-digit targets last year. So you're talking about, and it's not a surprise. We knew that was the case, right? We knew that was going to be the case with Tyreek and Travis. But I wanted to see how it actually played out last year versus the one game we have this year to see just how different it was. And the reason I started looking at like the number of players with targets and the number of players with receptions is as I was going through and I'm like, oh, well, week 3, he had 11 players that he targeted last year against the Chargers. Oh, against Buffalo, he targeted 10 different players. They sucked in that game, but he targeted 10 players? Oh. Against Baltimore, I mean, he had 9 different guys catch a pass. Against Buffalo, he had 10. Against Chargers, he had 10. Like, that's interesting. So maybe it isn't all that rare. And then it's like, oh, but against the Chargers, he only had 3 of those guys that had 3 or more receptions. So he had 10 different guys catch a pass. 7 of them had 1 or 2 catches.
It's the difference between a plan to spread the ball around schematically, like in the DNA of the offense, as opposed to, oh God, hey, there's a Byron Pringle. Whoop. And that's his one
I'll
target
hit Robinson
for the day, or whatever
over
it might
here.
be. Exactly.
You know, I'll hit McCole, who McCole had a couple of games where he was pretty good as the 3rd target leader or even the 2nd or sometimes 1st. But you're right. It is Tyreek and Travis and then sprinkle in guys from time to time.
Who comes back to the ball when I'm scrambling.
Right.
Yeah.
This was, okay, MVS is the read here.
Yes.
Juju's the read here. You know, Travis is the read on this play. Jody is the read on that particular play.
Fortson and Gray each had their 1 reception.
Yeah.
The running backs, it was 3 for McKinnon, 3 for Clyde.
Yep.
But like in years past, I went back to the opening game against the Browns last year just for, that's the wrong box score, so that's not going to do it. I had the other box
Clyde
score
Edwards-Helaire had
somewhere else.
3 targets, I think.
Closed the wrong tab. Point
You're
being,
fine.
they ran a lot of stuff through running backs and whatnot in the passing game. Darrell Williams throughout the season, I have still for some reason now the playoff game up here where Darrell Williams was targeted 4 times when Clyde wasn't out there. There is a major difference in running through all of the receivers that he has done already so far, where Noah Gray and Jody Fortson are like sprinkling accents. But to your point, the plan is let's hit these guys in different spots, and even if it's not like what the first read is, it's where's the matchup. You actually years past last year, how many matchup winners were on this offense? I think it's 2, maybe a running back on a linebacker, whatever. But it's Hill and Kelce. Right now, I think they've got like 5 or 6 guys who could be the best matchup on the field at any given time.
Besides Hill and Kelce in the playoffs last year, do you know the player in the 3 games that led in targets in each game? So after Hill and Kelce, who was the next player that had the most targets in that game?
Without thinking about it very hard, I would say Darrell Williams.
You're on the right track, but you're right book, wrong chapter.
So was it? Oh, it was McKinnon.
It's McKinnon.
Yeah, I was like, it wasn't Clyde. No, that makes sense. All right.
Hill and Kelce, and then it was McKinnon against Pittsburgh. Hill and Kelce, then it was McKinnon against Buffalo. Hill and Kelce, then it was McKinnon against Cincinnati. I mean, it's that was what, and that's what we saw, yesterday to a degree. I mean, targets was Kelce, Smith-Schuster had 8, Kelce had 9, Hardman had 6. MVS had 4, but then McKinnon had 4. Edwards-Helaire had 3. They weren't up there as 3. It was sitting there at 4 and 5,
Sure.
but they were still getting 4, 3, targets. McKinnon got 4 against Cincinnati. He got 6 against Pittsburgh and 7 against Buffalo. And
I just wish you would have talked about this Jarrett McKinnon guy at some point in the offseason. I had no idea he was so good.
I'm just saying he just happened to be the guy. I think McKinnon was interchangeable at the running back spot in those games because I think that's the way that Mahomes was then playing at that time in the year.
Sure, yeah.
He was doing I'm going to take it to the running back. The swing pass, I'll hit the running back. Just as this one. The throw that he made to McKinnon when he sort of waited and then lobbed it, and I think that was McKinnon. It might have been Edwards-Helaire.
I think so.
One of the two, and then lobbed it, and then it was a nice gain. It was immediate. I see the blitz. Something's not open. I know I've got my release right here with this player, and he's going to go and get me some yards. That's not something in the middle of the season when they were struggling it seemed like he was doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and maybe he was, but it just doesn't seem like that. In fact, if I'm going and looking against,
Clyde was not as big a part of the passing game last year as we expected him to be.
Yeah.
McKinnon wasn't as big a part of anything as we expected him to be.
Right.
And then you had one game where Darrell Williams turned into Randy Moss for a second.
against the Raiders.
I mean, yeah.
That's right. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Learn funniest best on the other side of the break. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So let's actually get into it without the sarcasm.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We had up until 2 o'clock. Tomorrow, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes will talk with the media. Short week, so we heard the coordinators today. And we'll hear from those guys tomorrow. Maybe some players as well. And then no press conferences on Wednesday. And then game number 2 on Thursday night. So that's how the week lines up. Do want to pass along news from today, and that is the Britt Reid hearing that took place today. He has pled guilty to charges stemming from the traffic accident that took place on February 4th in 2021. A sentencing hearing has now been set for October 28th at 1:30 p.m. That's Friday, October 28th at 1:30 p.m. As it went down today, Britt Reid and his attorney agreed that they would, at least in a plea bargain in the prosecution, would cap the prison sentence to 4 years, down from the max of 7 in the state guidelines. So as part of the plea agreement to plead guilty, the max time served in jail would have been 7 years. With this plea agreement, the max that he will be sentenced to is 4.
Which, again, is the maximum. It could be any number of things less than that, but that's the new cap as of today.
That's right. Britt Reid was sworn in. The judge asked him if he understood the possible penalties for pleading guilty. And with the sentencing, there's many possibilities, from a suspended sentence and 5 years probation. He can have 1 day in county jail, and he could be sentenced to 4 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections, and, of course, anything in between. That will be decided on October 28th. Reid's attorney proceeded to ask him a series of questions about the facts of the case. Were you at Arrowhead? Were you on the ramp? Had you been drinking? Did you run into the vehicles? Each of those questions, he answered yes to all of them. When asked, was Ariel injured in the car accident, he responded, yes, she was. The judge accepted the plea and then set the date for sentencing. Britt Reid and his attorney left the courtroom and handed printed statements to the media that said, quote, Mr. Reid continues to be remorseful for his conduct and hopes that his plea brings some sense of justice to all he has affected. He will be preparing for his sentencing, which will occur later in the fall. So that is what took place today. October 28th is when Britt Reid will find out what his sentence will be for the guilty plea that he entered in today.
One thing I wasn't completely sure about coming into today that now we know and just sort of have clarified is, again, this is Britt Reid's case with the state. As with the actual family, there is not going to be a civil suit or anything. There was a settlement a while back. So this is about Britt Reid and the law, essentially. The family who was hit and the girl who was critically injured, they settled close to a year ago probably now, right? Maybe last offseason even.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a minute now, though. But the hearing today against sentencing at the end of October.
Because also with the Chiefs, I mean, it was trying to make sure the medical bills were taken care of, and her health care was taken care of to the highest degree. And that's what that part of it was. And now it's a matter of finding out October 28th what the penalty is going to be for Britt Reed in terms of time served. If it's probation, if it's 4 years in jail. We will find out. So that took place today. I wanted to pass along, at least from that standpoint. Let's get to learn funniest best from the weekend. We go around the room what we learned, what the funniest, what the best was from the weekend. No easy transition from that to this.
No, there sure wasn't. There sure wasn't.
There just isn't.
Is there anything else we could talk about for 10 seconds? Kyle Fuller tore his ACL. He's out for the year for the Ravens. That's not funny either, but we did learn that just a little bit ago.
Right.
That sucks.
But, I mean, there's the information. It's news.
No, I know. I'm just trying to put. No, you're right. No, I'm glad we did it. I'm just trying to put some distance between us and the funniest thing from the weekend.
Well, the funniest comes up in about 3 or 4 minutes.
I know.
We'll do the learned first.
I'm just trying to build some padding here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the buffer.
Let's hear from Dave Tobe. Did he say anything?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
He did talk. He probably said
Here's
some stuff.
what Justin Reed
but,
said after the game yesterday about something. I don't know. Here, Beard just hit some audio.
He said some things and said some stuff, man. There's some things, dude. There's some stuff that's being said. I don't know. So, yeah.
All right, there we go. We got some distance. We're good.
We're good?
We're good.
Okay, very good.
We're good. Just needed to give everybody a
by the way,
little space there.
Has there ever been, and we haven't talked about it today, we've got plenty of time to continue to talk about this in college football as well. Is there more of an appreciation maybe of James Winchester than maybe right now today?
Yes.
That maybe hasn't even been acknowledged when you see what happened in Cincinnati?
Absolutely.
And by the way, Ian Eagle with a brilliant call on the blocked extra point, because I hadn't noticed it at the time.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
But after the extra point, and he said a slower snap.
Yeah.
And then they showed it, and it's compared. You never notice it with long snappers.
Right.
But compared to other long snaps, it looked like it floated back there.
Yeah.
Just sort of floated back there, and Minkah Fitzpatrick got, the top of his fingers on that to block it. If that thing is a half second faster getting back there, it goes by his fingers, doesn't touch it, and the Bengals win. And Ian Eagle saw that immediately in real time, because there was no replay when he said that. When they showed the replay, you could see how slow it was. Then on the field goal, he went to try to make it faster, and that's how it went high, because he was trying to put extra oomph. He was aiming the first one. The second one, he was going for speed, and he messed both of them up, and the Bengals were 0-1. Lot of respect and love for Kendall Gammon, who I can't wait for that conversation with Kendall Gammon.
Excited.
And also James Winchester in what he's doing as well.
There is a reason that long snappers get a very valuable roster spot.
Yes.
Because when they are not there, you notice. When you're there, when they're right where they're supposed to be, nobody ever bats an eye.
Yep.
James Winchester, I believe, is also the highest paid long snapper in football, or at least was whenever he signed his recent deal. Good reason.
After
you never
yesterday's
think about him.
game, I'm perfectly fine with him making that scratch.
Give him the Mahomes deal.
All good. All right, learn funniest best from the weekend. All right, here's what I learned. And I was driving to Sunday Sound Off, listening to the post-game show, and you played the Cliff Kingsbury press conference. And what I learned is that Cliff Kingsbury is a nice guy.
Okay.
He is a nice guy. Because put yourself into Kingsbury's shoes, which, by the way, looking in the mirror would be great. But put yourself in Kingsbury's shoes. Your team just got punked in game number 1 against the Chiefs, and you were embarrassed. And now you're going to the podium. You've given an opening statement. A question came in that said, how is this possible for this to happen? Right, so you know where the line of questioning is going. Understandable. This is the second question asked to Cliff Kingsbury after getting dominated by the Chiefs. And it shows that he's a really nice guy. I left his answer in here just so you can see how nice of a guy he is. Here's the question to Cliff Kingsbury.
Was the thought at halftime to come out and just kind of try to establish some offense at that point? You're down 23-7. It's not a terrible score, but was it just let's come out and try to establish something, get some rhythm going?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. We didn't. I didn't think, for the
actually
first 3 quarters
answering the
we
question
had any rhythm on offense, and weren't able to execute like we wanted to. Had some things I thought that were
nice
there
guy.
and weren't able to execute.
Coach, did you consider playing offense the second half?
Was the plan out of halftime to try to establish some offense and get some rhythm going? No, it wasn't. We wanted to come out and just punt because we said, you know what? I don't believe the Chiefs can do that again in the second half. I think the first half was a fluke. What if we didn't score this half?
Hey, what if we don't stop them either?
You know what I was thinking? Defensive scores. That's how we come back. I watched that Pittsburgh game. They scored on defense.
I mean, they can do that.
Their offense didn't score points. Their offense was terrible, just like ours was. Defense scored. That's what wins championships. That's what I was told. That's what happened at Texas Tech. I was a defensive guy at Texas Tech. It's all about the defense.
Notoriously.
Coach, was the plan coming out of halftime to try to get some offense established? Boy, sometimes the media, brother. That was the second question. Opening statement about why they sucked. First question, how is this possible for you guys to look that bad? Second question,
Did you try?
Was the plan to get some off? Like, did you even? What were you doing at halftime? Because you didn't get some offense going, but was that at least the plan to get some offense going? That's what I learned. Kingsbury answered that legitimately, and he's a nice guy for doing that. Because what would Bill Belichick have said to that after that shellacking?
Yeah,
we try to score.
We were trying to put some points up.
Yes, at halftime the plan was to come out and score. We're now getting ready for whoever our next game is.
On to Seattle.
Didn't work.
On to Seattle. Was it Seattle next? Who
I
they
don't
play?
know. I just picked a team.
It's on to the Bengals, but you can't really, So, all right. Was it on to Cincinnati?
That was the original one. Was on to Cincinnati.
I know it's the Bengals.
I don't know who they have next, but it's on to Cincinnati.
Doesn't matter. They'll lose to him probably.
Yeah.
He doesn't have Tom Brady. All right. What'd you learn?
What? Where's Tom Brady?
Not in New England.
That's what I just learned. Here's what else I learned. And I got to give a shout out to Beards for keeping me aware of this one. I learned that the Cincinnati Bengals did beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. Now, you might be saying, hold on, the scoreboard said Steelers 23, Bengals 20. That's the score.
Right.
I'm talking about who won.
Uh-huh.
And the Bengals won this game, and the only stat that truly matters.
Really?
Time of possession.
There it is.
The Bengals had the ball for 43 minutes and 43 seconds.
Is that real?
The Steelers then had the ball for 26-17. The Bengals had the ball for almost 3/4 of the game. And they lost.
I was about to say your math is wrong, but I'm like, that's right, the 10-minute overtime. I was like, your math is not working there, buddy. Okay.
We are adding up to a 70-minute chunk. And it was maybe, I guess, 2/3 of the game confidently. I mean, absolutely impeccable time of possession work by my champion, the Cincinnati Bengals.
They're 1-0.
They're 1-0 in my book.
I would like to see what the time of possession leader, what the record of time of possession is of the actual teams that led by time of possession, because that's 0-1. Chiefs were.
I did this a few times last year.
Jason. They're undefeated.
They're undefeated.
In our hearts. In our hearts. Beards.
The Chiefs.
That's great.
I don't have that.
Well, the Chiefs won time of possession.
Yes. Yes.
So they're 1-0.
Because they just kept forcing.
So of the two games that I know time of possession, 1-1.
That's right.
The teams are 1-1 in that. 500. You know what? Win time of possession, you're at least 500 team.
Oh God, there it is. I was gonna. Yep. I mean, that's it. That's the new take.
You're at least a 500 team. And then you just get better from there. At worst, you're a 500 team.
At worst.
Beards, what did you learn?
Josh kind of stole my thunder on this one a little bit.
I thought you told me that I could have this one.
Not that. No, not that
okay.
one. This was a next-gen stat. Patrick Mahomes was blitzed over half of his dropbacks, 54% for the first time in his career. The extra part of that stat that I now get to give is Mahomes threw for a career-high 4 touchdown passes versus the blitz, tied for the most in a game in the next-gen stats era, which is since 2016. So, hey, everybody else, keep blitzing. It's
Just
doing
blitz.
great.
Yeah.
It's working wonders. Keep doing it, please.
Keep it up.
Do that. I think defensive coordinators should even eliminate blitzing from the reindeer. Like, just get it out of your minds.
It's
no
time
matter
to put
what.
down blitzing.
The night before Christmas, on Dasher, on Dancer, and Comet, and Cupid, on whatever else until you get to blitzing, and on Too Deep,
on passing and coverage, on dropping all 8,
on Comet, on Cupid, on dropping 7.
There it is.
Now dash away all.
Dash away backwards towards the opposite goal line.
I mean, that game was so bad that Kyler Murray wanted to hit the reset button.
There it is.
Like, can I just start over this game? Can I start this game over? What was your funniest?
Did you try blowing on the cartridge, Cliff, at halftime? My funniest is that Nebraska paid $7.5 million for same-day shipping. That is effectively what it was. You ever buy something online, and it's like, okay, well, we can have free shipping here. We can get it to you in 6 to 8 business days. Or you can pay $7.5 million and it'll be in your pocket tomorrow.
Oh my
it's
goodness.
like, okay, I've never paid $80 for same day air shipping or whatever. If Nebraska would have waited until October 1st to fire Scott Frost,
unbelievable.
His buyout would have dropped by $7.5 million. What? 2 weeks. They were 2 weeks away from saving themselves. Really, maybe 3 weeks away from saving themselves $7.5 million.
That's just money.
I wouldn't eat for 3 weeks if I could get $7.5 million on the other side of that. Are you kidding me? I might not breathe.
I would go 3 weeks on a fast if I got $7.5 million at the end of it.
Don't know how. I would have to do some, creative sort of calorie ingesting, but
yeah, I mean,
have a smoothie,
eating. Can I have an Ensure
juice cleanse, Nesquik?
Yeah, smoothie. One of those
liquid diet of beer.
Yeah, sure. I don't think that would help you over 3 weeks. What was the funniest for you, Beards?
My funniest was actually from Friday, but I'm using it because it's too good not to share. So this was at the end of First Take. They were going over some of their picks and stuff for the weekend, and I'm going to set this up for you. There's 2 parts to this. Stephen A. is first asked, what AFC team does he think will score the most points over the weekend? And here we go.
I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Okay, tell me why.
Justin Herbert, Williams, Keenan Allen.
Okay, all right. I guess we got time for one
stopping
more.
that offense.
We'll dive in deeper here. Raiders, Chargers. Who are you backing to win this one, Stephen A?
I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I'll just go with that.
How?
And
it's not edited. Those are not
that's
two
what I was
different
going to
clips.
say here, because I showed that to Josh. He had heard the audio on Friday, and I showed him the video, and he was like, it was in the same shot? It happened back to back from each other, where he goes, the Chargers are going to score the most points over the weekend, but they're going to lose to the Raiders. As the joke was on Twitter, if there's one team that's going to do it, it's going to be the Chargers.
Boy, now if Stephen A. was playing that game, props.
Absolutely.
Props.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that's how we went with that. But I don't think that was the case.
Clip, man.
Oh, man.
So good.
Wow.
The facial expressions on it are even better.
Yeah.
There's
hilarious. A delay. He's on remote. It's awesome. It's perfect television.
My funniest from the weekend, I had 2, and I'm going to use them both here. And just because Beard said, hey, we need to keep it moving.
Seren, this isn't my fault.
My 2 funniest were over a 5 passing attempt stretch. Mizzou was 0 for 1 to the team in white and 4 for 4 to the team in purple in 5 attempts. That was pretty hilarious. Also, when Harrison Butker made the field goal, if we have the call from Nance and Romo here, this was pretty good, and I got a chuckle out of it.
With that tender left ankle, the plant foot, Butker had to be carted off earlier in this half, 54 yards. And that kick is good. Didn't take a lot of steps into it, if you noticed.
Wow,
How about that?
He comes back from the locker room, thinks he's probably done, and Daniel LaRusso is going to fight, and he comes through.
How about that?
I love it. Daniel LaRusso is going to fight. Just like they said in a movie that Josh has no idea what that reference is for.
Star Wars?
It is. It is from It's from Weird Science. Okay. Close. All right, the best
He
for
doesn't
you.
know what that one is either.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I know. That's from Kung Fu Panda.
That's exactly right. The best from you, it's from Lion King. Beards?
We haven't talked about this too much yet on the show, but Sad Fans on Reddit season is back as well. Going to be starting that back up. Let me just tell you, man, the Cardinals were in mid-season form already. They were sad and salty, and it's going to be a good time. I'm going to record that after the show today. Maybe we'll have it tomorrow.
The problem is there was no plan to come out and try to get some offense going by the Cardinals. My best, a couple things. Justin Reed yesterday, that was awesome. And, of course, K-State, the way that they played. Oh, and KU, too. I don't want to forget about KU as well. Those college teams winning because, props for that. But, no. Justin Reed and the extra point and the kickoffs, and then after the game saying he would have made it from 53 as well. That was great. But, yeah, it was a fun weekend of college football for 2 of the 3 schools. Josh, your best?
On Saturday, Renee and I, for her birthday, made the Edward Oliveris Memorial Drive to Omaha and back in one day.
Nice.
And hit up the Omaha Zoo for her birthday, touched some stingrays, watched some armadillos run. They are crazy.
Are those metaphors, or you're actually at the zoo?
No, that's all true.
Okay.
The Omaha Zoo, very cool. The biomes and everything they have, really, really incredible. And then we went and had dinner at a place called the Alpine Inn, where they put their leftovers. It's kind of tucked into the forest. They put their leftovers out back for raccoons to come and eat. So there were no less than 24 raccoons out the back window at this little spot in Omaha that made for one of the strangest, most magical little just fried chicken and potato wedge eating experiences while you watch a whole crew of raccoons just going to town on like some leftover chicken bones. It's really magical. I'll show you guys pictures after the break.
Raccoons eating chicken bones sounds magical.
It was a blast, man. I don't know how to tell you how much. Look at this. Look at how happy this little guy is.
All right, we'll take a break. More so next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Is this really Jason Anderson?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, that'll do it here on a Monday edition of The Zone. Fun one today. We covered a lot of ground. A lot of ground was covered in a lot of different sports. We talked lacrosse. We got into the boxing match with Le'Veon Bell and Adrian Peterson.
You mentioned that.
Chiefs. No college football, though. We haven't... Tonight on Sports Radio 810, Denver and Seattle. Let's go Seahawks, huh? What do you say?
Ride.
Let's go Seattle. Where's the 12th man at, huh?
Riding. in Denver actually playing quarterback?
It's at 7 o'clock tonight is when the coverage starts. 7:15 is when the game starts. Love that. Where's the 7th man? Playing for the Broncos. The program's up next.
Ready to change your life? Get a smile.